Shine, representing the property owner. As of Thursday of last week, we don't have approval, but we do have a path forward now to make it to the final approval stage. Whether it actually gets approved or not, that's uncertain at this point. But we do have a path forward now, which involves us rescinding an application that we put in, submitting it as a new type of application for a sign instead of an amendment to a site plan, and then it can at least move forward to the final stage. As to how long that would take, it's a staff question. I know we have someone from the planning department here. Probably about 30 to 60 day process, I would assume.
I can confirm the timing of the process would be 30 to 60 days if the applicant submits everything on time and presents it as a sign.
And can you just state your name and
Absolutely.
position?
Ella Parker, Urban Design and Planning Manager. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, so what is the city seeking at this time?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What is the city seeking, since I'm sure they're asking for additional time to comply, and they had a compliance date of April 9th.
Well, city staff is still not going to support this application. It is, in our mind, a sign, and the screening on the building is also at issue still. So both those issues still have to get resolved. But the process does involve a city commission call-up, so it will ultimately be up to the city commission as to if they want to approve this or not.
When does the commission meet? Like, what's the time
The commission meets bi-monthly. So again, the application first has to get reviewed, and then reviewed by staff, and then sent up for city commission review.
I think, Your Honor, we'd be supportive of a 63-day extension at this time. Just obviously this case has lingered significantly, and it's, appreciate that council's saying they're changing course now, but we'd just like to, make sure it continues to move along and maybe another order to appear.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to do 63 days. I'm going to do June 10th, so I'm going to grant the extension with an order to reappear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Next case, page 11, Inspector Pat Gavin, case number CE 24070-361, case address 1328 Northeast 26th Ave, owner Hainsley, Florida LLC, posted at property 32525, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good morning, Pat Gavin, City of Fort Lauderdale, Senior Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on October 8th, 2024, and given time to correct for the following violations. 47-21.9.m, the landscaping on this RMM25 multifamily property has areas of missing ground cover in an area currently used for parking. 47-20.13.b.1.b, there is gravel in the swale at this RMM25 multifamily residence. 9-306 is complied, 47-2.2.q.1 is complied, and 47-2.2.q.3 is complied. The city is requesting compliance within 63 days or a fine of $50 per day thereafter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
My name's Nick Berry, registered agent for the property. The LLC is actually owned by somebody that lives in Romania, so I'm the boots on the ground. I take care of the property every day. This started back in October, as Mr. Gavin said. We got a survey in November. Part of the violation was stained fascia. So I paid $43,000. I had a whole new roof put on, had all new fascia put on. Turned out it wasn't the fascia. That was just what the code stated. It turned out to be $20 worth of paint on a wall, which we took care of last week. Then the paver, we filed for permits. We started with the permits 12/24 of 24. It took until March, sometime in March, for us to actually finally get the actual permit approved and permit in hand. I did not, we're using echo pavers. for saturation. We did not want to order the echo pavers for fear that the city wouldn't approve it until we got the permit. So now the echo pavers are on order, which take 8 to 10 weeks. I'm asking for 90 days to complete the project. That's all I'm here for.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to grant you the 91 days, which would be a July 8th compliance date, or the fine of $51 a day, okay?
51 after that?
Yes, you have 91 days. If you're not in compliance by July 8th, then it'll be $50 a day. And obviously, stay in touch with this, with inspectors, so that if you have run into a problem, you can ask for additional time before the fines begin to run.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it. Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Our next case, page 3, Inspector Paulette Del Grasso, case number CE 24110397, case address 645 Flamingo Drive, owner Jesse Shaw, personal service 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good morning, Inspector Del Grasso for the city. The case and address are as read. This matter was first inspected by Senior Officer Manny Garcia on November 15th, 2024, during a king tide event. Water was observed flowing from the base of the seawall out on the right-of-way and down the street. Video evidence was captured and presented at today's hearing. An inspection report was mailed an inspection report was prepared citing 47-19.3.D2. The seawall at this property is in disrepair. All property owners must maintain their seawall in good repair. A seawall is presumed to be in disrepair if it allows for upland erosion, transfer of material through the seawall, or allows tidal waters to flow unimpeded through the seawall to adjacent properties or the public right-of-way. The inspection report was mailed to the property owner, allowing 60 days to show significant progress towards compliance. 2 months passed, and Officer Garcia noted the owner had failed to comply. Therefore, he referred the matter to be scheduled for special magistrate. I met with the owner, Dr. Shaw, who is here today, on March 24th and hand-delivered the notice of hearing. He provided 3 pictures to me via email that his engineers found no evidence of leaks. He requested this matter be continued until king tide season to determine if there is truly a breach or if the tide passes over the seawall and causes flooding in the street. As of this morning, Dr. Shaw also provided me with a report from All Pro Construction, LLC, dated March 5th, 2025, indicating that the seawall is not in disrepair. Excuse me, I need to bring this up. One moment. Okay. Again, the All Pro Construction LLC indicated the seawall is not in disrepair. However, there are minor spalling and corrosion stains present that repairs can be made to correct these issues. Therefore, the city requests 63 days or $100 per day thereafter.
Hi. My name is Dr. Jesse Shaw. Thank you, Special Magistrate and City Council, for this due process. I'm a little nervous, but I actually I have a computer that.
Okay, so doctor, if you could hold on 1 second
Yes.
for your presentation. No, you can stay up there, it's fine. We're gonna show the city's video, and then we'll hook up your evidence right after.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
was it.
Thank you for that king tide video.
Whose video was that? The city?
The cities, and then, yeah, the doctor's got a presentation now. Oh, there you go.
So I have a presentation. If you can press the space bar, so there's a notice of violation. City of Fort Lauderdale. Keep going. So the ordinance says, and this is the most important right of the ordinance, is the definition. A property owner shall maintain tidal flood barrier. A tidal flood barrier is presumed to be in disrepair if it allows tidal waters. The key definition is tidal waters to flow unimpeded through the barrier, not king tide or hurricane waters. So the definition of tidal, can you press space bar, please? So the two questions in this case is the wall in disrepair, state of being, which is defined as a state of being in bad condition due to neglect or lack of maintenance, which both while Inspector Del Grosso was on vacation, I had 2 engineers come to visit the property, which inspected and stated that it's not terrible, just a minor spalling. Both companies said that it's better not to do anything while she was gone because they didn't understand what to do because nothing was in disrepair. So I even obtained a letter, which so can you keep going, please? And then the second question in the case is, does the seawall allow tidal waters upland, breach, or material through? The first thing to establish is a definition of tidal water. Tidal waters are the normal basic rise and fall of high and low tide determined by the normal moon and sun phase. Now, the definition of a king tide is an exceptionally abnormal high tide that occurs during the gravitational forces of the Earth, leading to unusually high tides and possible coastal flooding. If you go forward, Ms. Del Grosso absolutely described in her email to me that this was during a king tide event on November 15th of 2024. So she definitely defined it as the king tide, which is not a normal tidal water, which is defined in the ordinance. Forward, please. So that was the video, of course, during a king tide, which we described it by definition as abnormal and not usual. If you can go to the next one. Last week, March 31st, Broward County had a flash flood alert where we received anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. These are 2 videos, if you can click, that will show that my house is completely dry during a flash flood, 3-inch to 5-inch waterfall. And what I'll do is I'll show you that there is water from other units and other houses that have water that mine does not. And you'll see this right now. So my property, after 3 to 5 inches the day before, is completely dry. What you'll see is other ones are not. And you'll see actually across the street, you'll see water flowing. My house is completely dry because my house is not breached or does not have a disrepair seawall in a normal tidal water. Okay? This is across the street where they don't have a seawall. Okay? And so it's the same thing to show you if you go past it. So what I will explain, the reason why you saw on the king tide of all the water, my street goes like this. It goes like this, and my house happens to be at the epicenter of the V. So what happened was the neighbors made a complaint on every single house. And there was a couple houses that were in disrepair down the road, which we talked about, which they worked on, they fixed and everything. And I got lumped in to what happened during king tide. So my contention is my seawall is not in disrepair, and the king tide is not considered normal tidal water, which is on the ordinance as it is written, right? It's a definition. So basically you're telling me that at king tide or hurricanes that we saw in Fort Lauderdale and Broward Boulevard, where there was a parking lot of cars that were dead, you cannot say that the whole town is in disrepair. So I don't think king tide and hurricane would be considered tidal water. Thank you.
Thank you. So have you guys looked at those you know, his argument that it's not a king tide and I mean, that it was a king tide and not a normal tide, that it wouldn't be, based on his presentation, he wasn't in violation of the ordinance?
Hi, good morning. Supervisor Kaloya. Excuse me.
Is it great?
Hi. So we have king tides every year, and the tidal barrier code the code ordinance was created to basically create tidal barriers so that the water doesn't impede the adjacent properties or into the right-of-way. When we were out there, myself and the previous supervisor and the code manager were at a meeting, there were multiple properties that were cited. We were out there with the Assistant Director of Public Works, Dr. Gaspin, and while we were there, she pointed out the property across the street, which was his property, where the water was actually coming through his property onto the street. Originally, when the complaint came in, it was the complainant changed his mind, so we had closed the case, and then now the new one was open. So in the ordinance, it does say that all barriers should be, all new tidal barriers, flood barriers, have to have substantial repair or rehabilitation to shorelines, and should be done if any tidal barriers are breached or if the water goes through or over, and so therefore he was cited as such. The video does show the water going through his house. It actually comes through the front of his house into the adjacent right-of-way, so.
I mean, I'm concerned with two parts. I mean, one, he has an engineer saying that there's no.
No, ma'am, he actually doesn't. He has a contractor. He does not have an engineering report. That was going to be my point. And then two, I know the doctor mentioned his argument that king tides are different than tidal water, but king tides are indeed a type of tidal water. So, as the supervisor mentioned, the genesis.
Not by definition.
The genesis of the ordinance was that the property needs to have the water contained by the barrier. Now, if the doctor wanted to submit an engineering report, we could take a look at it. But the report that I read was from a general contractor that was just a visual inspection, and we would deem that insufficient.
May I first of all, there is a definition of tidal water, which is I explained and looked up and researched, and it's not a type of tidal. King tide is not considered. The other thing is, again, I've had two companies come out and look, and why would I pay for an engineering report when I know my wall is fine? My wall is dry all year except the water that was coming through, I drilled holes in case there was a hurricane or an expensive tidal flood. So I did that so my house doesn't flood. Not that this happens ever, okay? This does not happen. Again, I just showed a video with 3 to 5 inches of rain where nothing comes. My wall is completely by code and by definition.
So, again, during king tides, when the tide rises, and which is expected to continue to rise, as we go through global warming and so on and so forth, the ordinance says that the tidal barriers will be raised eventually. Everybody's will have to be raised. But in the meantime, if it shows any kind of trespass of the water going into the right-of-way or into the adjacent property, that it has to be taken care of. I mean, that's the whole point of the tidal barriers, is to keep the water contained and not to affect the adjacent properties or the right-of-way.
So what do you need for him to do to be in compliance? Because he said he had, I guess it wasn't an engineer, it was a contractor that came out. So what is it that you're seeking for compliance from him?
Paulette?
Dr. Shaw will need to mitigate the tidal waters.
There's no breach, guys.
With what do you want him to do? Does he need to get an engineer to come out and do an inspection and tell you that there's not an issue? He's trying to get in compliance. He's had 2 companies come out. What else does he need to do? That's
I mean,
his
this is
frustration.
getting ridiculous. I'm sorry, but your the senior over there, I am reading directly from your ordinance. It does not say what she says. It says a tidal flood barrier is presumed to be in disrepair if it allows tidal waters impeded through a breach through the wall, which mine does not have, okay, and onto adjacent pond. This is what the ordinance that I was given.
I understand. So the city's interpreting tidal waters to include king tide.
But that's a wrong. They can't just interpret. I can interpret that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. I mean, there's a definition. If you look up the definition of tidal waters, it's not. It's the usual and normal ebb and flow of the moon and sun phase of high tide and low tide. King tide is not considered, even by definition, normal.
The ordinance requires, however, that the property owner must contain the water. Therefore, I mean,
I contain the
regardless
water
if he's calling a
363
tidal-
days a year. I can't do it on a hurricane, which I'll never be able to do, and I cannot do it on a king tide. This year, the king tide plus the rainstorm that we had, this is a very unusual circumstance. I think you guys are being a little bit unfair, and I came prepared.
The violation would not
You guys should
exist.
change the bylaws, and it's not me. I'm going by the ordinance.
There wouldn't be a violation if the water just came onto his property and, you know, flooded his front yard, for instance. But because it's breaching and going into the right-of-way, that's where the violation
There was a parking lot on
exists.
Broward Boulevard with 15,000 cars last year. That was, I mean, is the whole city under breach?
So to
I mean, come on.
answer your question, because I'm not an engineer, to know how to tell him
Why
exactly
should
how
I
to
have to pay
mitigate.
for an engineer?
Magistrate?
Why should I have to pay for an engineer?
I just wanted to read into the record a section of the ordinance, just for reference. So under section 47-19.13, resiliency standards for tidal flooding protection, it's going to say the purpose of the section of this code, which you were cited under. The purpose of the regulations in this section is to establish a consistent minimum elevation for tidal flood barriers that will provide a standard for flood mitigation infrastructure that serves as a barrier to tidal flooding, not seepage, by accounting for water levels predicted under the combined conditions of sea level rise, high tides, and storm surge through the year 2070.
I have no problem with storm surge, high tide or low tide. My house never breaches during that.
Right, but what they're arguing is that the ordinance that you were cited under falls under that part of the ordinance, which then would include king tide.
The ordinance is 4719.13 E2. It's nothing on your paperwork that I received that says anything about that.
But it's under the umbrella of that ordinance is what she's reading from. That's what they're trying to tell you. It's under.
So hurricane and king tide are under that umbrella?
Yes.
I just want clarification.
Yes.
So our hurricane, so does everybody in the county need to get higher walls? I mean, it doesn't make
Eventually
sense.
you will, yeah.
It's supposed to be normal. You're not talking about, now you're telling me it counts for hurricanes, so we have to have walls that if we get a storm surge of 25 feet, I'm gonna be violated? I mean, that's exactly what she just mentioned. Like, you can't, there's definitions, and there's ordinance, and there's writings. You can't just interpret it how you want to, and I'm going to let it go because I think I'm right on this, and I'm not going to battle because I'm going against a big board here. But I'm telling you that you can't just interpret rules and laws the way you want to. If you're telling me that, that means that we have to prepare till 2070 for
Sir,
hurricanes.
she's not telling you anything. She's reading directly from the ordinance.
What she stated, I'm sorry.
Okay, so my
It's the words
concern
of the
is
ordinance.
that he's trying to get in compliance. He's had 2 companies come out and do an evaluation. But where does it say that he has 7 engineer versus the general contractor? He had 2 companies that I would imagine specialize in looking at these seawalls, but yet that's not sufficient.
They didn't even know what to do because they didn't say, they're like, it's not in disrepair. We don't know what to do. We have to wait till she gets back from India. I mean, I'm just telling you.
My time away is irrelevant here.
Whatever. I'm sorry. Vacation.
Magistrate.
Okay, I just want to understand, and you have a right to take vacation. Okay,
It's not that. It's just I'm saying they couldn't fix anything because there was nothing for them to fix while she was
right.
gone.
I'm just trying to get clarification from the city that you've had 2 companies come out, but they're not. It's not sufficient. I want to know what is it that
What
would
is
be
sufficient?
That's what I.
Magistrate,
Where am I looking?
Katrina Johnson, Co-Compliance Manager for the City of Fort Lauderdale. The reason why engineer's report was brought up is because typically when a neighbor has the assumption that the seawall is not in breach, typically they hire an engineer because the city also has engineers that deal with the city seawalls. And so what the engineer does, they actually go down below the water level to actually look at the seawall. So having a construction company look at the seawall from the land surface level is different than having an engineer determine if there are any breaks in the seawall itself.
Okay, so Dr.
That is
Shaw,
why
that's the answer. They just want you to have an engineer report.
No, we don't want him to have an engineer report. He has to bring his seawall into compliance. How he chooses to do that is up to him.
I don't even know what to do. What if my wall is so if the engineer says that I have nothing breaching about my seawall, you're gonna then tell me during king tide the water comes through.
So if you have an engineer's report, we will provide that to our engineering department to review along with the code violation and the videos, and they'll make a determination from that point if it is sufficient. However, bringing your seawall into compliance basically means that the next time the water rises, there will be no water in the right-of-way, not on your property. It's the right-of-way that we're concerned with. So those are the two things. So what they give you is 365 days from today to find out how to come into compliance. So it's not a 30-day or 60-day.
How do you come to the conclusion that the water that came the right away came from his property and not the adjacent property?
Exactly. I mean, the whole street is flooded.
I'm just asking, how do you come to that conclusion?
The whole street is flooded.
Actual inspectors on the other side that can answer the question.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? How do you come to the conclusion that the water in the right-of-way came from his property versus his neighbor's property?
Well, you can see it in the video, and we were actually there when it was breaching. So yes, he's correct, there were other properties, but those were all individually addressed.
Okay.
So he's not the only person that's in violation. However, as you can see in the video, it was definitely coming through from his property onto the right-of-way. We could see it in the video.
All right, so Dr. Shaw, you're going to have to get an engineer that's going to have to come out, and that's typically what's done when you have a seawall, is an engineer is going to have to come out and they do a different evaluation than the contractor that came out. And I guess if they'll make a determination if anything has to be done or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and code can get you in touch with the engineering division so that your engineer can discuss options and possible solutions.
My only concern is that it doesn't matter what the engineer says. There's going to be water that comes through during king tide, and it's such a gray area that you guys are portraying that we don't even have a number. We don't know what's compliance. We don't even, if an engineer comes and says my wall is completely fine and there's nothing to do, it's still going to have water come through.
Well, if your engineer says that you're in compliance and the city agrees, then you're in compliance. And then I guess if a year from now another king tide comes and there's another issue, we'll have to deal with it then.
Okay, that's fair.
But I mean, you can only deal with a limited compliance. That's because we can't create a king tide.
There's no definition of what would be in compliance. That's the problem I see.
Well, that you guys will have to come to that agreement.
Well, what's in compliance is that the water is not coming onto the right-of-way. So if the water is contained onto your property, then you're in compliance.
My water is contained. It was all the other houses that were coming.
Okay.
And remember, this is 1 day or 2 days max the whole year, and it happens in the whole city, which is very interesting. How come I'm being singled out here?
You're not being singled out, sir. And in fact, that is directly in contravention to what the supervisor said. Others have been cited, and we regularly hear seawall cases here in magistrate hearings.
All right. I just think you guys should have some stronger definitions then. Sorry.
Okay, so let's do 63 days, or do you need more time?
I need, well, she just said a year.
Well,
they just.
may I point out one issue? As I mentioned in the video that you've seen, it looks as though water is pouring out from underneath the steps of the front of the house. So for you to say that it's contained, I mean, the video just shows otherwise. So if I were you and lived in that house, I wouldn't want water coming in from under the foundation.
Nobody does, but I can't stop king tide.
Okay, but that's
There's
why
no way
an
to
engineer's
change.
report would be
That's
necessary.
fine, but there's no way to stop king tide. Your whole city gets flooded in king tide. You know this. There's no way to stop king tide. It's a natural phenomenon.
Okay, but perhaps an engineer can point out
We can all build 25 feet high. I mean,
can discuss some options as to how to prevent the flooding from underneath your house. going out into the
May
right of way.
may I please request, like you said, 360, so
So
at least we get to another king tide so we can evaluate it?
I need you to understand what the code says. The code provides for 60 days to show forward progress and then 365 from there. So the 63-day request is for you to have some sort of plan as to how you're going to address it, whether it be through engineer's report or if you went to the county to have a survey done on your seawall, whatever it may be. So 63 days is the first step we need to make, and then you'll have to come back here, and at that point, we give you 365 days.
May I just request a little longer than 63 days, please?
Sure, we could do 91 days. So let's
Thank
do
you.
Okay.
91 days with an order to reappear for July 8th, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Sorry, I
$100.
I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my case.
Thank you.
Next case, page 25, Inspector Rachel Moore, case number CE 24050517, case address 2881 Southwest 2nd Street, owner Nigel Peart. First heard 10/24/24 to comply by 2/27/25. One section not complied at $25 per day, $1,000 has accrued. The city is requesting the full amount and the fines continue to accrue.
Good morning, everyone. Inspector Rachel Moore for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case just read in. This case was first brought before the Special Magistrate on 10/24/24, and at the Special Magistrate hearing, Special Magistrate Cannon ordered 126 days to comply with the violation of 9-308 parentheses A, and for all remaining violations, 49 days to comply or $25 per day thereafter. On the post-magistrate inspection dated 12/12/24, the property was found in compliance with the violation of 9-305 parentheses B. On the post-magistrate inspection dated 3/4/25, the violation of 9-308A remains out of compliance. As of pre-hearing inspection dated April 7/25, the property was found to be in process of roof repairs via safeguard under building permit BLD ROOF WT 250-30015. At this time, the city is requesting 91 days with a stay of fine and a mandatory reappearance, which should be a sufficient amount of time to complete the roof repairs.
Wait, how much time?
91 days with a stay of fines and a mandatory reappearance.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
Nigel Peart.
Okay, so the city wants to give you an extension of 91 days to get into a compliance and then to come back, okay?
Okay. Do I still have to pay a fine?
Well, we'll deal with that when you come back. Right now, there as a stay of fines. Right now, you have $1,000 in fines. When you come back in July 8th, we'll discuss the fines, but they are outstanding, okay?
Okay. I don't think I should pay a fine because we did not get the permit on time with the, when the guy.
Well, don't worry, we'll deal with that then. Right now, you're not in compliance, but once you're in compliance, we'll deal with your fines. So just come back on July 8th, and you have another 91 days to get in compliance, and then we'll deal with your fines.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Next case, page 28, Inspector Karen Proto, case number CE 240-20106, case address 3001 Northwest 24th Court, owner Hyacinth R. and Tremont T. Tolls, first heard 5/14/24 to comply by 11/3/24, suspended 11/12/24 through 11/25, one section complied at $50 per day, $400 accrue, and the city is requesting the full amount.
Morning.
Inspector Proto for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Case and address is read into the record. At the Special Magistrate on 11/12/24 hearing, Special Magistrate Flynn granted a 119-day extension. Upon inspection on 3/10/25, the case is now in compliance. The city is recommending full imposition of fines.
Okay. Good morning. Please state your name. It was on.
Tremont Tolls.
Okay. And so the city is requesting $400 in fines be imposed.
All right. So the last time I came, you gave me an extension to March 11th, and it was in compliance on March 10th. So I want to know why I'm getting fines, and why is the vehicle and the storage unit on there as well? That was done last year.
Because you were not in compliance for a number of, how many days was it? 8 days. So it's their opinion that what are the days in question that he didn't? Okay, so from November 4th to November 12th, you were not in compliance. You got additional time to comply at the last hearing, but you still had 8 days that you were not in compliance, and that's why they're seeking $400.
In regards to the roof, because the vehicle and the storage that was on the lawn, I had that removed immediately.
Those two are
It
already
has to do with the
compliant.
old torn
Okay.
pieces of tarp and small sandbags that need to be removed from the roof. Another element which is not permanent on the roof. That's where you got your fines. It had nothing to do with the derelict vehicles. It had to do with your roof.
Okay, so with the roof, like I said, you gave me that. I came in on that one, and you gave me an extension.
I
So-
did, but you got the extension after you had already had 8 days of violation. Then you got your extension.
Okay. So
What are the administrative costs on this?
The city, I'm sorry.
The administrative cost is $755.
Oh, okay.
It's more than the
I see that.
Agreed. Okay. Magistrate, in light of the fact that it was only 4 days, and he did come in for an extension, the city can waive the fines.
Okay, we're going to waive the fines. 0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, here's another case? No, Karen. Okay.
Next case, page 34, Inspector Karen Proto, case number CE 2403071, case address 2340 Northwest 11th Street, owner Henry L. Coleman, first heard 6/11/24 to comply by 6/21/24 and 9/10/24. One suspension noted 11/12/24 through 4/8/25. Four sections not complied at $50 per day with a total fine of $12,800. And this is an order to reappear.
Inspector Proto for the City of Fort Lauderdale, case and address is read into the record. At Special Magistrate on 11/12/24 hearing, Special Magistrate Flynn granted a 147-day extension and an order to reappear on 4/8/25. As a pre-hearing inspection on 4/3/25, the case is not in compliance. However, he's been working really hard and he's been, having some difficulties, so I'd like him to speak, and then we could move forward
Okay.
with our request.
Hi, please state your name.
Henry Coleman.
Okay. This is your opportunity to respond to what's going on.
It's not. First of all, I'm not as young as I thought I was. And my finances have changed. I only get one check a month now. So I need more time.
Sure. How much time do you need?
I could say I need more time, and I'm trying to get some help another way.
Special Magistrate. The city is not opposed to extension of 126 days and a stay of fines at this time.
Okay. So, wait, how many days did you just said?
126.
Okay, I'm going to grant the extension for 126 days for August 12th in an order to reappear as well? Okay, with an order to reappear. Okay, so the fines are not going to, we're going to stop the fines, and we're going to grant additional time. So you have 126 days, and then you need to come back here August 12th for another hearing. Okay? All right, good luck to you.
Next case, page 35, Inspector Rafael Santos, case number CE 241004662, case address 1517 Southeast 16th Street, owner Budrick LLC, first heard 1/14/25 to comply by 4/8/25. One section not complied at $200 per day. Fine starts 4/9/25. Fines of $15,000 have already been imposed, and this is an order to reappear.
Good morning, Magistrate. Inspector Rafael Santos for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Case and address as read into the record. At the Special Magistrate hearing on January 14th, 2025, Special Magistrate Canada ordered 84 days to comply with an order to reappear and give a status report. As of today, the dumpster gates have been replaced, the storage pod has been removed, and the $15,000 fine has been paid. What is remaining is Code Section 47-34.1.A.1. There is illegal land use occurring at this B1 zone commercial property. There's a commercial kitchen trailer being utilized in one of the parking spaces, and there's a storage shed in one of the parking areas. Council is here to update us.
Good morning. Thank you. Stephanie Toothaker on behalf of Budrick, Southport, Rabar. I want to thank the city. We met on site to come up with solutions for everything. As you noted, we've brought everything into compliance that we were able to bring into compliance. There's one remaining issue, which is the kitchen that's been there for 30 years. That is how they serve their food. And so we are working with the city manager's office on finding a path for compliance on that. We are continuing to update the city and just asking for additional time so that we can work on that.
How much time do you need?
It's going to take some time. I mean, I'm happy to come back and reappear and provide status. I would ask for at least 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
With a stay of fine, I'm sorry.
All right, so I'm going to grant the extension for July 8th with an order to reappear and stay the fines as well, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Next case, page 9, Inspector Muhammad Dayam. Case number CE 2412055. Case address 833 Southwest 30th Street, 1 through 8. No.
Good morning.
Owner Woodland Rentals LLC, Inspector posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Which one? What do you have that one crossed off? No, it isn't. No.
You don't want 155?
Yeah, 155.
Yeah.
Which one? This one. Okay.
Good morning. This is Mohammed Dam, City of Fort Lauderdale Code Compliance, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on December 6, 2024, and the following violations were observed. 9-363 complied, 9-280H1. The fence at this property is in disrepair and is not being maintained as required. The gate is bent and panels are stained. 24-27F, the lid on this waste container is not closed. 47-19.4.D.8, there is a dumpster enclosure that is not maintained at this location. The gate is in disrepair and there are missing and stained panels. There is trash and debris around the container. 47-20.13.F, there is prohibited gravel for multifamily property and right-of-way. 47-20.20.H, there are parking facilities that are not maintained at this property. There are cracks in the concrete and the stripping is missing. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 5th, 2025. The property remains in violation. The city is requesting 63 days to comply for violation 9-280H1, violation 47-19.4.D.8, violation 47-20.13.F, violation 47-20.20.H, and 10 days for violation 24-27F, or a fine of $100 per day per violation thereafter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Norma Alum, permit runner, helping the property owner. The property owner, they hire a contractor to do the work, and they started supposedly the permitting process and just disappear. So they just hired me to work on these, all the permits. So the idea is to basically, they're going to be removing the whole parking lot and doing a brand new one, including moving where the gravels are. So all that is going to be new. I already met with the engineers from the city, trying to see what were the requirements. The survey that they had was not in compliance, so I have to basically change the whole, I requested a new survey that can meet, you know, the requirements. So I got the survey last Friday night. I did request a notice of comments to be recorded yesterday. So I'll be working on the permitting process. The moment that we get the permit for the parking lot, then we can do the rest of the work, because as you can see where the fence is, they're gonna have to remove that part of the fence where the dumpster is in order to do the parking spot. So we're gonna take they're gonna take care of everything at once. I did call the city, asked them if I would need a permit for the fence. They say no, because it's just maintenance, and it's basically just a couple of the plywood that are damaged and needs to be replaced. But since we have to remove, as you can see where the concrete is, we have to remove that part in order to replace it, and then they put everything back. Like I said, I just started the permitting process.
Okay, so how much time do you need? The city was requesting a compliance of 63 days would be June 10th. Is that going to be sufficient time, or do you need additional time?
Is it okay to do 91 days at least to get everything permitting and as much as we can, in case that we cannot comply with the 91 days, I come back?
Yes, ma'am.
myself?
City doesn't oppose.
Let's do 91 days with an order to reappear, so that way, okay? So
Great.
July 8th, okay?
Great, thank you so
I
much.
just want to confirm, 10
Yes.
days to
And
close the lid of the dumpster.
For the dumpster?
Yeah.
Okay, we did actually request it for the lead on the water in the front. It seems like every time the dump truck passed through, it's ripping off the lead. So they believe it's because it's too over the ground when they put it, so that one right there. I don't know why, that's what the owner is telling me. They keep replacing it and it keeps being taken out. So in the meantime, while I work on this permit, I'm gonna be working also on a way to fix that part of the lead as well.
Yeah, because that's a 10-day compliance date. That one I'm not going to change because they want that done.
That's fine. So what I do is I have them just put the lead on pictures and send it to your email. Would that be okay?
Yeah, just call me. I would do a re-inspection and then comply the violation.
Will do. I can do that, no problem.
All right, good luck
Thank
to you.
you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Our next case, page 9, Inspector Muhammad Dayem, case number CE 24120314, case address 901 Southwest 32nd Court 1 through 8, owner Cynthia S. Harper and Stephen J. Harper, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good morning, Mohammed Dam, City of Fort Lauderdale, Code Compliance, presenting case and address as read. The property was first inspected on December 13th, 2024, and the following violations were observed. 9-363 complied. 47-21.9.k, decorative stone or gravel is being utilized at this location in excess of the maximum 10% of the total landscape area at this RMM25 zone property. 47-20.20.h, there are parking facilities that are not maintained at this property. There are cracks in the concrete and the stripping is missing. 47-20.13.f, withdrawn. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 5th, and the property remains in violation. The city is requesting 91 days to comply for violations 47-21.9.k and violation 47-20.20.h, or a fine of $100 per day per violation thereafter.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Shane Harper. I'm representing my father and mother. My mother's sitting right there. And thank you for hearing me out. I do agree that the parking lot does need repair, and I'm doing as much as I can to have that fixed. I ran into a few problems with my first contractor. I gave him my deposit, and he kept prolonging, delaying, and then about over a month, he just stopped communication, so I lost my deposit. I had to hire a new contractor, which I did my due diligence, made sure they were, licensed and insured, and they were able to obtain a survey, and they are in the process of trying to get the permit passed. Apparently, it's in engineering right now, in review. It's been there since March 20th. So it's been maybe a little over 2 weeks, I'm not sure, but my concern is all these unforeseen issues that take a time. It worries me when I receive this notice of violation hearing that I could be fined every day that
So
I'm
the
not
city's
complying.
seeking a compliance date of 91 days, which is July 8th, which is basically 3 months. You're concerned you're not going to get in compliance in 3 months?
I mean, I've been cited since December, mid-December. We're already in April, and nothing has been done.
Do you want more time, or you want to do an order to reappear? Order to reappear would be better. All right, so why don't we
Order.
do I'm going to do 91 days, but I'm going to have you come back on order to reappear. So obviously, if you're having issues, we'll deal with compliance then. But you don't have any fines running, okay? The fines won't run, if at all, until July 8th.
Okay.
Okay, but we want you to come back on July 8th and let us know.
If I do show progress that I'm working on it, I mean, is it possible to get more of an extension?
Absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next case, page 14, Inspector Matthew Flesher. Oh. Case number CE 250-20456, case address 3204 David Boulevard, owner Saria Holdings 2, Inc., posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 250200456 at address 3204 Davie Boulevard. The case was first cited on February 16, 2025 for the following violation: 47-20.13.a, complied. A white collection box on the rear swale city right-of-way with the markings clothes, shoes on it. This is a recurring violation. Refer to case number CE 220300799. This case will be presented to the special magistrate seeking a finding of fact whether or not the violation comes into compliance prior to the hearing date. All violations were complied as of February 25, 2025. The city is seeking a finding of fact for the violation, 47-20.13.a.
Good morning. Please
Good
say your
morning.
name.
George Perez on behalf of the owner. So the thing is that this isn't a reoccurring issue that keeps happening on the exterior of the property. There's a wood division between the property and the swale. So the thing is that this is something that keeps happening. They come, they keep delivering those boxes. There's no form of communication. This is not the only first box, but servicing the property.
So you're saying your client doesn't have anything to do with that box?
No, they just keep coming and dumping them. So every time we notice that they're there, we have the towing agency come out and remove them. So there's multiple pictures of the towing agency at their tow lot of all the boxes that we've removed from the property. So they just keep on. The only thing we were able to establish, while we were doing the investigation is they're scratching off the stickers of their logos of the information. They didn't do a good job here. So we've been running more information on EMR LLC to find out. But these are different boxes. Some are green, some are blue. And I have pictures, multiple pictures as they leave them on the property.
So you're actively trying to
the
find
towing
them.
company will have the towing company come out and remove them. So we actually have a picture of them at the storage lot.
Wow.
Of like 4 boxes already.
Okay, I'm not going to grant a finding of fact because they've done nothing wrong. I mean, this is some outside violator they keep putting on their property, and they're doing whatever they can to get in compliance, but I don't really think they should have a finding of fact against them. They've done nothing wrong. So I'm just going to dismiss the case, okay?
Okay.
All right, good
Thank
luck to you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next case, page 32, Inspector Rachel Moore, case number CE 230800539, case address 519 Southwest 27th Avenue, owner 519 Southwest 27th Avenue LLC, first heard 4924 to comply by 41924, 51424, and 7924. 2 suspensions noted on the agenda, 1 section not complied to $100 per day, $3,600 has accrued.
Good morning again. Inspector Rachel Moore for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case as read in. This case was first brought before the Special Magistrate on 4/9/24. At the Special Magistrate hearing, Special Magistrate Cannon ordered 10 days to comply for the violation of 9-363, 35 days for violation 9-306, and 91 days for violation 47-20.20 parentheses H, or $100 per day thereafter. And Special Magistrate Cannon also ordered a mandatory reappearance. At the Special Magistrate hearing dated 7/9/24, Special Magistrate Flynn granted a 91-day extension and an order to reappear. At the Special Magistrate hearing dated 11/12/24, Special Magistrate Flynn granted an additional 147-day extension and an order to reappear. A lot of progress has been made in bringing the property into compliance. However, the back of the parking lot area remains unfinished as depicted in the pre-inspection photos dated 4/7/25. As of pre-hearing, the property owner's representative is present today seeking additional time. The city is not opposed at this time to 91 days with the stay of fine and a mandatory reappearance.
Hello, Bill Stecker. I'm the contractor for the property. I have some pictures, but I guess you don't need them now because she has them. The front and the sides of the property have been corrected properly. The problem we have is in the back. Sometime between when the building was built and there was asphalt parking in the back, they must have been getting a lot of flooding. I don't know if they did it with permit or not, but somewhere between the original building and my client, they decided to tear up the asphalt and put gravel to absorb some of the flooding. The problem we're having is it's becoming like a bowl. All three properties around the back are all higher. So their runoff is coming to the back of this building. If we take the gravel out and we asphalt it, I don't even want to think about it. I've spoken with engineers, we have no legitimate way of moving the water. I was just told by Ms. Moore this morning that they're talking about putting storm drains on the street, which would give us a place to get the water to go. We can mitigate some of the water by putting gutters across the back of the building with 2 downspouts into dry well. We can do that, but it's not going to mitigate all the flooding. Whether or not they tore up the asphalt and put down the gravel was done with permit or done with not permit, and my guess would be was not done with permit. Last time I was here, I showed the pictures of just normal Florida weather. If you'd like to see them again, I'll show them to you.
I think they're just looking for a solution. So I can't give you like a variance or a waiver, but they need you to come into some type of compliance. So that's why they're giving you additional time to get in compliance.
I do not know how long Fort Lauderdale takes on variance. I've never applied for one in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, no, I'm just saying I can't.
No.
Right. Are you seeking something like that, a variance?
I talked to Ms. Moore. We want to seek a variance on that part of the property. I don't know how long that'll take and if we can get it. I'm on it's funny, City of Plantation. I'm on planning and zoning of all places.
Your Honor. Good morning. Supervisor Cloyan. So I agree with Inspector Moore in this time that he can seek his variance. If it's, at least with the 91 days with the mandatory reappearance, we'll see where he's at.
That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to stay the fines. I'm going to give you additional time to comply with a new compliance date of July 8th, but it's a mandatory reappearance on July 8th. So that way you can give us a time frame of what's going on. Okay, so the fines won't start running. I mean, you won't. It'll give you time to figure it out.
I used to be on the code board in Plantation, too.
Okay. Now you have a lot of knowledge of the system, then.
Yes, I do.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Next case, page 31, Inspector Gail Williams. Case number CE 24010796, case address 2624 Northeast 32nd Street. Owner, Golden Eagle Condo Association, Inc. First heard 8/13/24 to comply by 11/12/24. 2 suspensions noted on the agenda. 1 section not complied to $100 per day, and fine starts 4/9/25. This is an order to reappear.
Good morning, Special Magistrate. Senior Officer Gail Williams presenting for the City of Fort Lauderdale, case CE 24010796, address 2624 Northeast 32nd Street. This case was first heard on August 13, 2024, with 2 extensions and an order to reappear. A pre-hearing inspection conducted on April 1st, 2025, and the violation 47-20.20 parentheses H has not complied. The city is requesting the full amount to be imposed as of scheduled April 9th, 2025.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Glenn Derrick. I am the president of the Golden Eagle Condo Association, and I appreciate your prior extensions, and your patience with us in getting this done. We have sort of given the tentative go-ahead to the paving contractor to start his work on Monday the 21st, which is the day after Easter, and he has given us a 5-day schedule based upon certain steps to be made with intervening inspections by the city. I would just beg for another, I don't know if I even need 30 days, because we've gotten our special assessments received for the majority of our owners. We're only 23 units, so and we have less than a 50% owner occupied rate, which is where the problem lies. Because some of the non-owner occupied units, the landlords, or whatever you want to call them, don't even live in Florida, and it's hard to, we can't stick a gun to their head and say, send in your $800, which is what the average assessment is on this thing. But
All right, I have no problem granting a 35-day extension to May 13th.
I was going to ask for the denial of the extension, only because it's been open since August of last year. But
I understand. I'm going to give you one more extension, then you're done, okay? I'm going to grant you 35 days because you told me you probably need 30, right? And after that, the city's really, they're opposed to any extension.
I understand that. Well, and just, Inspector Williams was very kindly gave me information on a mitigation program, so.
Well, right now, you don't have any fines. I gave you an extension. The fines haven't started. They will start if you don't do it by May 13th.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't leave yet. Yep, you got one.
Next case on page 26, Inspector Pat Gavin, case number CE 240507666, case address 2624 Northeast 32nd Street. Owner Carl and Patricia Piscitello. First heard 114.25 to comply by 124.25. One section not complied at $100 per day. $7,400 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amount, and fines continue to accrue.
Pat Gavin, City of Fort Lauderdale Senior Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This case was first heard on January 14th, 2025, and the magistrate ruled in favor of the city. The property owner was ordered to correct violations at this property by January 24th, 2025. The violations at this property have still not been brought into compliance. This case has been non-compliant for 74 days with a fee of $100 per day for a total of $7,400 currently due. The city is requesting the full imposition of fines in the amount of $7,400 with fees continuing to accrue.
Well,
Please state your name again for the record.
Glenn Derrick, President, Golden Eagle Condo Association. Well, we've had, actually, I look back in the records for 30 years, an annual contract with Truly Nolan for termite mitigation. And, we've been renewing it. And the current contract is up September 1st. We have tried, to have this done and been treated. And I had a brief conversation with the inspector.
You're saying they came out and they did what do you call it? They dealt with it? You're saying Truly Nolan came out and they dealt with the termites?
They do whatever their whatever their, individual spot treatment for termite extermination.
And when did they come out?
They have come out to this particular unit on a couple of occasions, and one of the things we tell our unit owners is that they don't have to go through the association. I give them the phone number and say, this is an open contract. You are free to call Truly Nolan directly yourself and schedule a treatment in your unit. On the specific dates, and on January 14th, that particular day, I remember being here because we were here for the prior the paving issue. And I had asked at the desk, since the unit owner was not here, do I need to stay around? And I guess without really knowing the full procedural whatever, I made the decision to go, and I should have stayed and whatever. And the inspector is going to go back because I informed him that we had hired another extermination company to come in and treat this particular unit. With the unit owner, and I didn't hear back. I guess I should have made a phone call rather than an email, because they can be overwhelmed with emails, I'm sure, and it could have been overlooked.
I mean, you have $7,400 in fines already.
So, sir, I had a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Oh.
Because as I understand it, the unit owners are the ones that called the city to advise of their concern of the termites. And by law, since the termite situation is in their unit, we have to legally notice the unit owners, which, as you said,
of course,
are not here today. But for clarity of the record, I just want to make sure. So you're here on behalf of the condominium association, and is it your position that the condominium association has the responsibility to mitigate termites in the building?
Yeah, basically, that's why we have the contract with Julie Nolan for termite mitigation.
Okay. Because based on that, Your Honor, what we're going to do is we will be moving, if we have to move forward with the case, we're going to be just modifying the ownership to reflect the condominium association as opposed to the unit owners, based upon, I assume that's part of your condo docs that says, termite extermination and so forth is like a common element and a responsibility of the association.
Sadly, we've checked with our master insurance policy, and termites are specifically exempted from, or deleted from coverage.
But no, that's not the question. The question is, under your your declaration of condominium, is it the unit owner or the condominium association that's responsible for the individual
The association
units?
is for the overall building.
So you guys are going to reissue a violation, or what are you going to do?
No. We're going to continue with this and just substitute based upon his testimony that the owner is the association.
I'm hoping, that Inspector Gavin and I can, work together and come into compliance within, hopefully, maybe this week even.
I'm going to grant a 10-day extension only because I think that you have to just go out there and, all right. So I'm going to grant an extension for 10 days, which will be April 18th, or the fines will continue to run then, okay?
Okay. And again,
then you can deal with mitigation then, because you do have a lot of fines.
Exactly. I know it's a lot.
You'll stay the fines during the 10 days, Your Honor?
I'll stay the fines.
Thank you.
Thanks again, folks.
Sure. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next case, page 3, Inspector Robert Kroc. Case number CE 250-20449, case address 1760 Riverland Road. Owner Joel Burns and Janine Cesar. Posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good morning, Magistrate. Inspector Robert Kroc presenting on behalf of the city. Case number and case address as read. This property was first inspected on 02/15/25 following a neighbor complaint about loud noise and music. The following violations were observed. Violation 17-71A, there's amplified sound coming from a residential property that is plainly audible 25 feet from the property line after 10 p.m. Violations 18-1, there is a large event at this property that is creating a public nuisance. It is being maintained in such a manner that the property threatens or endangers the public health, safety, welfare, or may adversely affect and impair the economic welfare of adjacent properties. Both these violations are transient in nature, and the city is seeking a up to $15,000 fine.
Per violation?
total.
15,000 total, okay.
I arrived at the subject property and I observed a large party occurring. I took a short video of the property where the noise is plainly audible 25 feet from the property line. As we get sound. In the video, you can also hear vehicles obstructing the right of way, both the bike lane and the right of way road traffic. When I attempted to make contact with the owner of the vehicle, I entered the property through the open area, and I was told by guests that the property was rented out for this event.
Ever lower the music?
They did. After I spoke with them, and I left the property to begin my case report, they turned it off, and later on, eventually that U-Haul truck you see there, they loaded up all their materials and towed it and the music off. As you can see, they're creating traffic problems. Eventually, the owner here did show up, and I spoke with them, and informed them of the violations. I also, while investigating this property, I found 2 ads showing that they were renting it out and charging money for the event.
How much were they charging?
I believe up to $350.
The renter was doing that.
Someone was operating this as a event, and they were charging. The prices are there on the screen.
So the city's seeking $15,000?
Yes. $230 for a VIP lounge. And if you look in the ad, you can see it clearly marks the address as the subject property.
Okay. Hi, Jefferson.
Hi.
Please state
Good
your name.
morning. My name is Barbara Bramwell, and this is my husband, Joe Burns. Now, as far as the party was concerned, we were having a party for Black History Month, and that's what the party was about. With regards to fees that I see there on the screen, I was never aware of those that they were being charged. I was never aware of that.
Right. Well, the thing is, when you rent out your property, you're responsible for your tenant's actions, right? So it wasn't your party. I'm assuming you had a tenant that had the party, right? Right? Is that what happened? You had someone that rented out your home?
Yeah, we didn't even know. This is the first time I saw that they were charging VIP.
I had no idea.
Your Honor, if you can see, the ad says Little Red Dress Valentine's Saturday in the garden party. Yeah, I'm not sure if that wouldn't appear to relate to Black History Month.
So it was a Valentine's party then?
It was Black History Month, as far as I know, that we were celebrating.
Okay. And how much
It
did
was
you-
Valentine's.
Magistrate, just for the record, this same property, last year, May 2024, they were cited for operating as a venue. They had advertisements, and it did go to magistrate, and there was findings of fact on that violation. So they have previously operated as a venue.
Well, as you can see, I have my name's not on there, his name's not on there.
I understand,
have no
but it's
idea.
your tenant. So when you apparently whoever's renting your home, whether it was this year or last year, knows that your house is a good party house, and they're not just renting your house to go stay. They're renting your house to have a party, which affects your neighborhood. How much are you collecting in rent from this tenant?
It was complimentary. I did not receive any money for that.
You gave it for free to somebody to your home?
She's a musician, and so there were people that were musicians that came to it, and she was just trying to, promote them because it turned out that this famous rapper came there that we didn't even know. Someone else invited him, and most of those cars with the lights were a celebrity that thought that he could just park wherever he wanted.
Right, but unfortunately, I mean, you don't want this to be a repeat occurrence. It happened the year before.
I don't listen. She's the musician. I don't even listen to music.
No, it's not that. It's that you have to understand you're disrupting. It's the music, and then look at the street. You have all these cars parked illegally.
Well, there was provisions made for parking with regards to a Sprinter van. What we were talking about is after the fact, later on that night, around 10 o'clock, a little after 10, this is what happened. A celebrity showed up to come to represent the Black History Month via the Valentine's. So he brought an entourage. There was a Sprinter van through my church that we were using, with regards to parking, to make sure we wouldn't have a situation like this. So it was a one-time off, and it hasn't happened since then. Or you're talking about last year? It has not happened from that time.
Do you live there on a regular basis?
Yes.
So you just rented out that night. You let people have a party there.
Yes, but
you
that
weren't
was-
there.
No, I was there. I wasn't aware. He wasn't there.
I came in. I don't like all that noise.
But you're saying you weren't aware that they were charging to come to your party?
No, I was not. I was not aware of that.
So who
That had nothing
collected
to
that
do-
money then?
I'm sorry?
Who collected that money?
Some guy named Richard.
You never saw it.
No, I'm not familiar with the charges. I did it as a complimentary, so I didn't get paid for that.
Magistrate?
And we didn't rent it out.
Magistrate, so when I spoke to them that night, and I specifically remember this part when I spoke to them.
Spoke to who?
Spoke to them,
Okay.
both of them. As I was speaking to them, he specifically told his wife to go obtain the money from the venue host.
Obtain the money in
Yes.
what sense? To do
It's-
what?
You said obtain the money owed, and that the parking around the property was not supposed to happen, and that you had a service and parking lot for their vehicles. I remember you saying that to me directly, sir.
Why not?
I said I didn't know anything about it. You told me.
No, you said that's
you
what you
spoke
told
to
when you guys spoke to me. We were standing there, and you told your wife to go collect the money.
I don't remember that
She didn't
conversation.
come until later on.
Yeah, we all spoke together.
I was talking to you.
Yeah, and you told your
And
wife
then
to
she
leave to
came-
go collect the
she
money.
came up and I never said
So you
anything
guys
about
were aware that there was money to be collected for this
You told
event.
me, and I told her after you told me.
To go collect money. You went to
I
collect
didn't know
money.
anything about money.
But yes, you did.
You told me that you
I
spoke
said
to
there,
someone,
and you
they-
said go collect the money.
How would I know anything about money?
He wasn't there originally.
You were there.
I wasn't
You were
at
there.
the event. I was in the house reading.
That's still at the event. The event was at the house.
Okay, if you're talking to me and I come out of the house and I'm not participating in the event, I don't know anything. You said to me that you
So you had
spoke
no
to
idea there was an
someone that
event
said
at
they
your
were
house
having
that
an
you were
event.
at.
Who told you about money then?
You did. You said you told
I
your
said-
wife to go collect the money owed.
You're making that up.
I'm not making that up.
Why
I
would tell
specifically
her
remember
to
you
collect
telling her
money?
that.
Collect money from who?
I
Magistrate?
don't know.
Well, I
But
don't-
that's
this
what you,
sounds
that's
like
what you
he
said.
say, she
Sure.
say.
Magistrate? Just again to reference the previous case, Supervisor Brown, City of Fort Lauderdale, CE 240-314, which they were cited for operating as an event venue, which was registered with Sunbiz at that address. So I just wanted, you to remember that. That's all.
Okay, I think I have enough evidence. Unless there's something else you want to present, I feel that there is definitely a pattern here. I feel like there's no reason why the inspector would be lying under oath about the conversation about collecting money. I understand that some famous person came and you had no control over that, but clearly there was a website collecting money. Someone collected money, whether
Well,
it was you or
that
somebody.
is not my website, ma'am.
I understand, but
Okay.
somebody collected money, okay?
Okay.
So you have to be able to control your parties a lot better when you have neighbors that are being affected, and it could be public safety health issues that you have all these cars, and if there was an emergency, it can affect the ability for an ambulance or a fire truck or anyone to get
I
through.
wasn't aware, ma'am. I'm being very honest. I was not aware that there were cars obstructing anything. A Sprinter van was put into place, and to my understanding, to get the people to the event.
But you were
Okay.
there, weren't you? You were.
I was. I understand that I was there. I was inside, ma'am. I was not outside.
But I thought you
As
said
soon
it was
as I
your
was-
party for Black History.
Yes, it was my party,
you
and
were
I made
inside, not at the
provisions.
party.
Yeah, no, I was inside of I was not inside the house, I was outside with the celebration. When I'm saying to you, provisions were made for a Sprinter van. I was not aware that the celebrity came with his entourage blocking everything. As soon as I was aware of that, ma'am, I immediately told them over the microphone, please move your cars. As soon as the music was realized after 10 o'clock, the music was stopped.
Your Honor, as you could evidenced in the video, you could see that the sound was well amplified, well able to be heard, plainly audible from 25 feet. As Your Honor has pointed out, there's definitely public safety issues, and additionally, there's evidence of a website of a commercial event happening. There's a, and again, as property owners, whether it's a commercial event or just a regular backyard party, the property owner still has that responsibility to control the crowd, control the noise, control what's on the street. I mean, whether you're having a party for high school kids or you're having, in this case, a commercial party. So we would ask for the $15,000, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to impose a fine of $5,000. This is, to me, a repeat offender. It happened a year before that. I think that you have to be more aware of what's going on your property. I'm not going to impose $15,000. I'm going to impose $5,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next case, page 29, Inspector John Claude Noel, Gail Williams presenting. Case number CE 240-20218, case address 1317 Northeast 4th Avenue, owner Agape Church of God, Inc. First heard 42524 to comply by 525, 5524, 53024, and 62724. 3 suspensions noted on the agenda, 3 sections not complied at $100 per day, with a total of $11,700 accruing. City requests full amount, and the fines continue to accrue.
Good morning, Special Magistrate Senior Officer Gail Williams presenting for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Case CE 240-20218, address 1317 Northeast 4th Ave. This case was first heard on April 25th, 2024, with 3 extensions. This is a hearing to impose the fines on the violations that remain. Violation 9-305B, complied. 18-A, parentheses B, has not complied. There are structures on the property that were boarded without first obtaining a boarding certificate from the City of Fort Lauderdale. 9-280B, withdrawn. 47-19.4.D.8, complied. 18-12A, complied. 9-306, withdrawn. 47-20.20, parentheses H, has complied. 47-34.1.A.1, complied. 47-19.5.E.7, complied. 47-19.5.D.5 has complied. The city is requesting the full amount to be imposed, which is scheduled for April 9th, 2025 for violation 18-A, parentheses B.
Okay, so there's only one violation that's still outstanding, right?
Correct.
Okay, but the city's seeking $11,700. Are they seeking? You're seeking everything for each, the $4,000, $6,500, and the $1,200, right? For all 3 violations.
Correct, because you still have one that's not complying.
Got it. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Pastor Pierre Petit Frere. I'm the pastor of the church.
It's been going on for over a year now. Well, why are you not in compliance? These are they're very simple. The landscape is a very simple compliance, and the structures on the property that were boarded without first obtaining a boarding certificate. And the last one was the parking facilities not being maintained. You accumulated $11,700 in fines the city is seeking.
Your Honor, we have been working very hard on this, and I was told today that there is a certificate, a permit outstanding, and it was a misunderstanding because we applied for the permit, and when it comes to expiration, we reapplied for an extension for the permit. and I'm still waiting for the permit.
Yeah, but the landscape isn't a permit. Doesn't need a,
No, everything is.
it says the landscape at the property is not being maintained in neat and kept appearance. Did he need to get a permit to maintain the
No.
landscape?
No, the landscape is compliant.
Right, but he
Right.
has $44,000 in fines for that, so it had nothing to do with the permit.
Correct. He's only seeking a permit for the board up certificate.
Okay, so
On-
18 dash, so that one he still doesn't have a certificate for.
Correct,
Okay.
on the ordinance 18-A, parentheses B.
Yeah. And also, the parking facility at the property is not being maintained, that one didn't need any type of,
No, that's complied as well.
is what, no, I know, but there's fines. I'm just trying to
Right.
understand. So the things that he was not in compliance for, the violations, they didn't need any type of permits. He could just need to get in compliance.
Correct.
Okay, so again, the city's seeking $11,700, and they want the plants to continue to run on 18-8B because you're still not in compliance.
Which one, Your Honor?
There are structures on the property that were boarded without first obtaining a boarding certificate.
Yeah, this is the application that we still are waiting for the permit.
Okay, I'm going to grant the city's request. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, he requested and submitted for a permit. However, there's a payment balance that's due on the permit. So we discussed it earlier, so he is aware that he needs to go to the city or contact someone in reference to what he owes the balance on the permit for the board of certificate.
Okay, but the
Right.
city's seeking the imposition of the fines and the fines
Correct, to
continue
start
run.
as of tomorrow.
Right, so I'm
Yes.
going to grant the city's request, and then once you're in compliance, you can request mitigation. But right now, it's been a year, and there's really no basis to continue it anymore or to not impose the city's request, grant city's request.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you need to get in compliance, and once you're in compliance, you can request mitigation. But right now, you have $11,700 in fines. Okay, so you need to get in compliance.
I need to do what?
Get in compliance, and then you can request mitigation. You're not in compliance still, so the fine, you have one fine that is still running because you're not in compliance.
Yeah, this one, I just said, Your Honor, the church has applied for the permit. We are waiting on the city to issue the permit.
Sir, this was given to you a year ago. A hearing was first heard April 25th. You had a compliance date of May 5th, then another compliance date of May 30th, and another compliance date of June. You kept getting extensions. We gave you 1, 2, 3 extensions already, and you still haven't complied.
Pastor, the reason why the permit's not been issued, you're not waiting on the city. Technically, you need to pay for it, and then it'll be issued, which is what the inspector said.
To pay for it?
Yes, sir? And then it will be issued. So it's waiting for you.
You have to pay for the permit.
Well, I must say there is a confusion because it was last week I saw the contractor. I spoke with one of the inspectors. They told me I need to see the contractor. The contractor had to reapply for the permit. I saw the contractor and he reapplied for the permit. Right now, if the permit is ready, I was not notified that it was ready.
Special Magistrate, Supervisor Lord, we'll speak to the pastor after the hearing and make sure he understands what he needs to do.
Okay, all right. And in the meantime, I'm going to grant the city's request. All right. Okay, they're going to speak to you.
Our next case, page 10, Inspector Muhammad Dayem, case number CE 2501050, case address 2918 Southwest 19th Avenue, owner Yexon Orlando Amaya, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525. Page 10.
Good morning. This is Mohammed Dam, City of Fort Lauderdale Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on January 8th, 2025, and the following violations were observed. 9-306 complied. 9-304B complied. 9-305, the landscape at this property is not being maintained in a neat and well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing ground cover. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 5th. The property remains in violation. The city is requesting 63 days to comply for violation 9-305B, or a fine of $50 per day thereafter.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Denise Jaluk. I'm here representing Mr. Jackson Amaya and helping him with the issue. I recently got all the papers on my hand to come and help him with this. The landscaping, which side of the house of the landscaping needs to be complied with? Can you please inform me,
Sure.
Inspector?
The right side next to the driveway where the gravel is.
Where the gravel? So you want them to put some landscaping in there?
Yes, it has to be planted with sod, grass, on the right-of-way and on the front lawn as well.
So can I get close to the?
Of course.
Thank you.
Sure.
Unfortunately, ma'am, in speaking, though, you've got to be at the mic. So that's going to be challenging.
So this is the right-of-way. That needs to be grass, and all of that needs to be grass as well. So basically, you're allowed only 10% of a gravel on the front lawn. And the right-of-way has to be completely grassed. The right-of-way, which is the swale.
Okay, when he put the papers and put everything like that was, as he was telling me, accepted and said, yeah, it is, done, so that's it. And then we're now kind of finding out that yes, he has, after he put all the gravel that's brand new, he has to put grass again.
We received an email from the zoning department. I'm gonna read the emails as we got it. So this is from the plan examiner, says, landscape was not part of this permit review. It appears that it may have been approved with the word of gravel on the plan. And then they say, from zoning point of view, we do not have any issues. Landscaping and engineering will agree that they cannot have gravel on the right-of-way, as denoted by their reference to the detailed D4.2R, nor have so much gravel on site without landscaping review. So basically, the permit is only for the driveway. The landscape has nothing to do with the permit that you already have.
Okay. I have this here that
I
was
do
that
have
was
it as well.
approved. And as I can see here, I'm so sorry, this was the gravel and was submitted, and as his understanding, that was approved, and he did
And
just what?
And the
Magistrate?
comments and the
Can I go? Supervisor Brown, City of Fort Lauderdale. I understand what you're saying, and all of that was brought to our department, and we reviewed it. So the plan that you guys submitted, you guys did right that you have gravel there, but your permit was only for the driveway. It was only for the driveway. So when the inspectors went out there, they were only inspecting for the driveway. So I understand you guys thought you could put the gravel out there, but it is not up to code right now. You can have some gravel on your private property, but you do need to put landscaping in it, and we can get you in contact with people from the landscaping department so you can come up to code. You could keep some of it, but as for the right-of-way, that cannot be gravel at all. And it actually did say on the plans that they sent back to you guys that it had to be a swale with sod. So I do understand the confusion, and we understand, and we will work with you and give you the time to comply and get you in contact with the right people so you understand how to do this moving forward.
I will appreciate that. As I said, I just got this on my hands a few days ago. I'm trying to, while I'm here, completely understand what's going on so I can help him, because he did it himself. And
so the city wants compliance in 63 days. Okay.
Can we get a little bit of more time economically, and with all the things he works 6 days a week?
All right, so let's do 91 days, okay? So compliance date of July 8th, or a fine of $50 a day, okay?
Do we have to submit permits to get all these things done as well?
No, I can give you the contact information of landscaping, and they can take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Please, can we meet outside then?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Next case, page 20, Inspector Wanda Aquavella, Case number CE 2501172, case address 2237 North Ocean Boulevard 1 through 3. Owner 2237 North Ocean Boulevard LLC, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
That one, okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. Wanda Aquavella for the city. Case and address is read. This property was previously cited on January 22nd, 2024, under case number CE 2401036, where it was taken before the special magistrate on March 28th, 2024. The special magistrate ruled in favor of the city, allowing 15 days for compliance. The case came into compliance on April 4th, 2024, prior to the fines being accrued. On February 25th, 2025, this property was cited again for the same violation, 15281A. This vacation rental property is operating with an expired certificate. As of April 2nd, 2024, the violation has not complied. The city is requesting a fine of $500 for each day. The property was found to be out of compliance 2/4/2025, 2/25/2025, and 4/2/2025, and for the fines to continue to accrue.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Hi, good morning. Gareth Moore, property owner, for the three properties cited here in question, 2237 North Ocean Boulevard, 2301 North Ocean Boulevard, and 2317 North Ocean Boulevard.
Okay, but we're only doing one that I'm aware of, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're only doing 2237 North Ocean Boulevard, 1 through 3.
They're adjacent and interrelated to each other, and I believe they're on today's agenda, so we're hoping to talk through the status of each of them, but
We have to do one at a time.
Okay.
But right now, the city's seeking $1,500 plus $500 every time this fine reoccurs, so I don't know what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. So we're a family-owned organization. So I've had staff members directly seeing to this with the city staff. I brought one of my colleagues today who's been communicating directly with the vacation rental department, as well as Inspector Aquavella. We acquired these properties in respective transactions in 2001, 22, did considerable improvements to them, or brought everything up to code violation to qualify for vacation rental licenses. I believe that was with Inspector Pat Gavin at the time that we went through that extensively. So this was pertaining to a renewal of, so there's the properties are in excellent condition. There's no code violations, but this is regarding the renewal. Our staff has been extensively and repeatedly trying to contact the vacation rental department at the city. We were told that they are short-staffed with resources, and I have extensive email documentation and contact documentation with me of our staff repeatedly following up, emailing, calling the city staff, and kind of very vague response and instruction back from the staff. So the other two properties here now, we've since satisfied all document submissions and paid the renewal fees, and there's only one in question where we've attempted to do that, to pay the renewal fee and get this process and done, but I believe it was reserved for this in-person appearance.
Is this an online process?
Yes, it's Lauderbuild portal website, yes.
It's all, okay, so but why do you have to contact the city then if it's an online process? Why do you, I don't know the process.
So, yes, ma'am. So our office has been working through the Lauderbuild portal to submit documentation for proof of ownership, which we provided. They request information from the Broward County Appraiser's website, which we provided. And then some of the instructions are very vague. They'll cite business tax submission. We actually, I believe there was a conversation how we were trying to clarify what did they need submitted exactly, and they weren't even able to specify it to us. So.
But this is a renewal, so you've had to submit all this documentation before.
Sorry?
As a renewal, you've had to submit all this documentation when you first got your license, so it really shouldn't be unclear to you as to what is needed, because it's a renewal, it's not a new application.
Yes, ma'am. So the staff member that was working with our organization had to leave us unexpectedly for a family illness to tend to, but we immediately dedicated additional personnel to it to follow up and contact. We've actually had communication with the vacation rental department who told us, don't worry, you've got so much documentation of contact here, that the fine should be waived or extended. We're here to seek a resolution. We're actively trying to comply, and it has not been a straightforward process.
Do you have that in writing? Because our staff would not say that.
Understood, ma'am.
Do you have that in writing? You said you have emails.
I do have emails, and I'm happy to submit them for record, yes.
Well, the ones that you're saying that the fine should be waived, that's what I like to see.
Well, no, that specifically was verbal, but I do have extensive contact information dating back from February on each of these properties, and I think point in case is we've submitted now all the documentation for 2 out of 3 of these and paid the renewal fee.
Again, we're talking about this one. We're only talking about the
Okay,
one,
so
not other ones. We're talking about this one.
So that one states that we have to be here in person for that, to resolve that today, which is why I'm here personally appearing with a staff member as well, and we're actively trying to resolve this. So if the city can instruct us what is still outstanding, I think we can bring this into compliance almost immediately.
What does he need for compliance, or what's still missing?
He needs to obtain his certificate or take the listings down offline.
Understood, okay.
And don't rent it out. You can't just take them down and continue to rent it out. It has to not be rented out.
We were instructed that the listings had to be taken down, which I believe my family did remove. But ultimately, and I believe we actually have inspections scheduled in the next 24, 48 hours, right? So, yeah, Yannicka, my colleague here, has scheduled the inspections to have those. It would be extremely helpful if the city could tell us if pertaining to this specific property, if there is one document outstanding. We're not exactly sure what it is. We're trying to bring this into compliance actively.
Have an inspection scheduled. Supervisor Brown, City of Fort Lauderdale. As this senior assistant city attorney stated that, this is a renewal. You guys have been through this process before. And additionally, to avoid something like this, when you are going through the renewal process, and especially after, the current certificate that you have expires, and you don't have a current certificate, the easiest way to do it would be to block out all of the dates. I understand a lot of people don't want to remove their listing because they don't want to lose their reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So it's your responsibility, block out your dates while you're getting, your paperwork together, just as it would be anybody would need a permit for anything else. You don't do the business until you have all of the documents that you need. So you guys knew that you didn't have the certificate for whatever reason it may have been, and you guys continued to advertise. I can give you my contact information, and I can, assist you with whatever help you guys need, after the fact, getting this together. But in the meantime, to stop these fines from running, just block out all of the dates. So when we go on there, there's no dates that we can click on. And then once you get your certificate, then you can open them back up.
Okay, I understand, and that's reasonable. We were hoping to resolve this in a much more timely manner, and this is how we earn our livelihood and run our business, but I understand the point. And yeah, the only other thing I'll say is that there's been significant improvements to these properties to bring everything up to code and make them certifiable. So we were certainly hoping for a more expeditious process with the city on the renewal process.
I will personally
Thank you.
help you guys, okay? I'll look into everything for you, okay?
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask that you have to block out the dates. You can't rent it while you're going through the renewal process.
That's fair.
Okay?
I'll ensure that that's done. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
But I am going to grant the city's request for the fines to be imposed for the 3 days that you were not in compliance and were advertising, and for moving forward, if you're not in compliance, you will get a fine of $500 per day. So just do what they said so that you don't have any more fines that are running.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And just to clarify, so is that 3 days at $500 a day that is imposed?
Right. That's what the city had requested previously, I guess, there was 3 days you were not in compliance. Were you renting it out during that time?
I don't believe so. To my knowledge, in speaking with family who's been working on this directly, is that they received the notice to take down the listings, and then they were moving to take down the listings. I believe that transpired.
So what happened those 3 days? You have 24th and 25th of February and April 2nd. I want to know what happened on those 3 days, how they found 3 random days that you were not in compliance.
Understood. That's a good question. I have emails chains from February 4th right through up until end of March, but February 4th is stating that... This is
24th. This was February 24th and February 25th. Is that
Yes.
they're seeking
Yes.
fines for on April 2nd?
Yes. So, all I can do is try to manage my staff and organization as best I can, but I have, reports and records that my staff has been communicating since February 4th consistently. The response time was usually 1 to 2 weeks back from city officials, whether we emailed or called, but they were out prior to February 24th. We're trying to resolve
But
this.
what were your emails? I'm trying to understand what you were trying to seek from the city.
Yes, so the Lauder Build portal, that there was files that they were submitting that were not being uploaded or accepted, and then when they asked to clarify certain items, you require something for business tax. Can you please cite exactly which document you're looking for? We couldn't get clarification on that. And then there was also ownership proof, which my colleague that's here with me today was able to ascertain that Broward County Appraisal's site records were sufficient for that. So we submitted that. Everything that we could identify, we submitted.
I'm sorry, Code Manager Katrina Johnson for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Can we recall this case, please? I need to look at something. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to
Thank you.
hold up on my ruling. They want she wants to review it and call it back. So just have a seat, and we're going to recall it.
Oh, today, you mean?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm not going to enter a ruling until I speak with.
There you have two more.
I'd wait. Let's wait.
Next case, page 6, Inspector Gustavo Caracas, case number CE 250-20094, case address 1126 Southeast 2nd Ave, owner Brian Hudson, William Hudson, and all others, posted at property 31925, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good morning, Special Magistrate Gus Caracas for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case number CE 250-20094 for the property located at 1126 Southeast 2nd Avenue. Inspection of the property was performed on February 4th and cited for the following violations. 9-304B, complied. 4719.1.d, complied. 9-306, the exterior building walls have not been maintained. Structural parts, including fascia and soffits, are in disrepair. There are areas of the exterior that have stained and missing peeling paint. 18-4C, complied. 18-12A, there's overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on this property and on its swale. Courtesy notice was mailed to the property owner listed on BCPA via first-class mail on February 4th, allowing 15 days to come into compliance. Contact has been made with the property representative and special magistrate request form sent on February 20th and scheduled for today's special master. Pre-hearing inspection was carried on April 3rd, and pictures presented here were taken to confirm some of the violations that have not been brought into compliance. The city is requesting the following. For 9-306, 63 days. For 18-12A, 15 days to come into compliance, or a daily fine of $50 for the violations that exist. Photos submitted into record for evidence, and we have a representative here with us today.
Yeah, my name's Christopher Hudson. I'm the youngest of the 5 children. Unfortunately, the first name on this paperwork passed away in October. The second name could not make it here today because he could not get a flight out of Atlanta. Now, the namesakes on this order, we were not allowed to be on the property or enter the property because it belonged to the state probation offices due to my mom being removed and from my second oldest brother who has passed away. Now, we just got control of the house back on February 26th when I signed for the keys from Mr. Derek Bellery under jurisdiction of Jill R. Ginsburg, Esquire, for the State Council and City Councils of the probate. Now, we've been trying to comply with everything we could. We've already got the vehicles removed. We've already got the framing down, which was been there since 1976. When the thing is, this area is residential and office zoned. Now, we've had 4 offers on the house since we took compliance for it. We were trying to get it cleaned out. My mother was born in the 20s. She grew up in the 30s in the Depression. She's a pack rat. So we just finally got control of the house as of February 26th. That's when we found the first notice.
The city agrees that you've been trying to get in compliance. There's only 2 violations that are still outstanding. 9-306, which is exterior building walls have not been maintained. Structural parts include fascia and soffits that are in disrepair. They want you, and peeling paint, they want you to get in compliance with that violation in 63 days, which would be June 10th, or a daily fine of $50. So they want to give you an additional 63 days.
Can we get a 90-day compliance, 91-day compliance?
Sure, I don't have
We're
a-
still trying to get things straightened out
91
right now.
days, sure, that'll be July 8th. And the other issue that the city needs you to get in compliance, other violation, is there's overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on the property.
That is be moved.
Okay,
I have
well,
pictures of that right
the
now.
city is giving you 15 days, so you have to have the city to come out and re-inspect the property, okay? So you have until April 23rd for the city to come out, re-inspect the property, and if you're in compliance, that violation goes away. So the only violation that you have outstanding will be with the exterior building walls,
Well,
which, you know, you have.
This is the original pictures from 2.5 years ago, last time we were on the property. Every picture in here is in compliance now, all the way to the back 40 of the back part of the house.
Okay, well, like I said, the city has to
I-
come
I
out
can
and
just give these to him, he can look at them.
He needs to come out and re-inspect the property. Yeah, you know, he has to come out and re-inspect the property. So right now, you don't have any fines running, okay?
Okay,
You have just 2 compliance dates. You have April 23rd, which is the overgrowth, trash, and rubbish, which if you're in compliance, that'll be easy. And then you have the exterior building that we just discussed, then you have till July 8th to get in compliance
But
with that.
unfortunately, like I said, we were not in charge of the building for the last 2.5 years.
I understand, but you got, no one's blaming you.
Unfortunately, we were finally notified that the state had returned control to our family on the 20th of
Right.
February. I signed for the keys from Mr. Beverly, and we still got the paperwork to sign to release the funds that were in the accounts
Okay.
for her.
Okay, well, like I said, the city is giving you additional time to comply. You have 91 days. Okay, all right, good luck to you.
Well, we've been trying. But there's only 2 of us working on the house right now. 'Cause everybody else is long distance.
I understand. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Our next case, page 31, Inspector Jessica Martinez, case number CE 2408015, case address 801 North Federal Highway, owner ACS Flagler LLC. First heard 11/12/24 to comply by 11/27/24 and 3/11/25. Suspended 3/11/25 through 4/8/25. 2 sections not complied. It's $100 per day, and fine starts 4/9/25. This is an order to reappear.
Good morning, Inspector Martinez with the City of Fort Lauderdale Code Compliance, presenting case CE 24080515, address 801 North Federal Highway. This case was first heard on the November 12th, 2024 hearing, and at the March 11th, 2025 hearing, where the magistrate granted a 28-day extension with an order to reappear. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 6, 2025, and the violations for 9-306 and 47-2020H have not complied. At this time, the property owner is here to give an update.
Good morning, I'm Jordan Brown. I'm the property manager for ACS Flagler LLC. So this is my second time appearing. Basically right now, we all know this building. We're trying to do a service to the city to get it looking really nice. We're in the process of a redevelopment. As it stands right now, on one of the corners of the building, FDOT was trying to have us dedicate what was a existing portion of the building. The redevelopment, we are keeping some of the structure in place. It's the only way we can really make anything worth. If we had knocked it all down, it would be a flat iron building because of the size of the lot. So we just got done with a meeting with Department of Transportation. They advised us basically what to do to resubmit the site plan. The site plan just got back to us on Friday. Actually, just by coincidence, our land use attorney was the first guy who appeared in front of you. I hadn't met him before, so, but he told us, so it'll be submitted on this Friday, hoping we get approved and we can get going with the permit and the construction. He told me realistically about 2 to 3 months.
So why don't we do an order to reappear, what, 91 days? Okay, so why don't we, I'm going to grant an extension. Stay any fines, since that no fines will start running since you'll grant the extension. And you'll have a new compliance date of July 8th, which will be 91 days, and an order to reappear.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Our next case, page 33, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 2409057, case address 3632 Southwest 16th Court, owner Dominic Williams and Danny Philip Williams. First heard 2/11/25 to comply by 4/8/25, 4 sections not complied at $50 per day, fine starts 4/9/25, and this is a request for extension.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 2409057 at address 3632 Southwest 16th Court. The case was first heard on February 11, 2025, to comply by April 8, 2025 for the following violations: 9-305B, not complied; 9-308B, not complied; 9-306, not complied; 9-304B, not complied; 47-34.4.B.1 complied; 18-4C complied. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and the following violations remained: 9-305B, 9-308B, 9-306, 9-304B. The owner is here to request an extension.
Yes, hi, I'm Dominique Williams. I just need an extension to try to resolve most of the issues. I've already come into compliance with 2 of them. So, but there's also an issue with there's a part of the grass that's missing on the opposite side of the sidewalk towards the street, and that was dug up by FPL. They were doing something underground, so I don't feel that I'm responsible for that. I don't know if that's in the papers, but
So it is the that would be between you and FPL.
but they did the whole street. I'm not the only house. There's like other people's. It's dug up like other houses. I'm not the only street.
Yes, usually with FPL they do make sure to replace whatever was dug up with the grass. If there was grass there, they put it back in the condition
They didn't. It's still there, and we can call FPL. They can confirm with you, but it still looks like that.
So that would have to be between you and FPL then.
But I didn't ask for them to dig it up. They just, that's something that's, I don't know if it's the city or what. They did it on multiple streets, multiple houses. There's pipes sticking up. It doesn't show it on this one, but not right now. There's pipes like sticking up from the ground, and there's no grass growing back. Just in that area right there, not just towards the street, that part right there.
So are you in contact with FPL? Are you in contact with them? They don't want to fix it, or what's going on?
No, I haven't been, because I've seen other houses that have the same issue, so I haven't contacted them specifically for that.
Special Magistrate, Supervisor Lord. So it's common that the FPNL, we don't have any control over when FPNL digs up for their poles or anything like that, but what we can do is we can try to help her get in contact with somebody. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to maintain a swell. We can try to help her get in contact with somebody at FPNL. Minus that, the other issues would need to be, corrected in a timely manner.
I understand. Okay.
So now I'm going to grant an extension 91 days, okay?
Okay.
For July 8th, okay? And an order to reappear just in case there's an issue, okay?
Okay.
All right, good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next case, page 7, Inspector Shaquan Kendrick, case number CE 241200178, case address 5910 Northeast 18th Avenue, owner Imperial Point Holdings LLC, posted at property 32625, posted at 1 East Broward, 32525.
Yes, I am. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Inspector Kendrick. Shaquan Kendrick with the City of Fort Lauderdale. Code Compliance, presenting case and address as read. This property was first cited on 12/7/2024 and given time to correct the following violations. Violation 9-280C, the walkway and common areas at this property is not being maintained in a safe condition. There are uplift and pavers causing an unsafe passage for the pedestrians. Violation 47-20.20H, complied. Violation 18-4C, complied. Violation 9-363, complied. Violation 9-306, the exterior building walls is not being maintained. Structural parts, including the fascia and soffits, are in disrepair. There are areas of the exterior wall that is missing in peel and paint. Violation 47-19.4.D.8, the dumpster enclosure is not being maintained and the gates are in disrepair. Violation 24-7B, complied. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April the 6th, 2025, and found violation 9-280C, violation 9-306, and violation 47-19.4.D.8 remain as depicted in the photos. The city is requesting 10 days for violation 9-280C, 35 days for violation 9-306, 35 days for violation 47-19.4.D.8, or a daily fine of $100 for each violation thereafter.
Okay, please state your name.
Good morning, Special Magistrate and staff. My name is Marcos Espinal, representing Imperial Points Holding, LLC.
Okay, so you're okay with the city. The city wants 10 days of compliance for 9-280, which is the walkway common area of the property is not being maintained in a safe condition. And then the other two violations, 35 days, or there'll be a fine of $100 a day.
Okay, so we'll address the other two violations. The dumpster enclosure, we're almost finished with fixing that up, which you can see from the picture there. We had started it. We're basically having it finish up and should be finished within a couple days. So I don't really need 35 days extensions on that. It's going to be done this week.
Okay, well, we'll give you this time anyway, just in case, so that way they have to come back and re-inspect. So for the two violations, you have till May 13th, and the first violation, the walkway common area, you have until April 6th, okay? April 16th, sorry, which is...
May 13th.
Wait, it's 10 days. It's April, oh, sorry, my eyes, man. April 18th. Sorry about that, April 18th, I should...
April 18th. For which one is that?
For the walkway common area, this property is not being maintained in a safe condition. There are uplifted pavers causing an unsafe passage for pedestrians.
Yes, that's the one that we would like, one of the ones that we would like a much bigger extension on that, because it's not just fixing the walkway. There are problems with trees that have invasive root systems that are spreading out. Now we have to deal with the tree first, and there's a couple of trees, and the other side of the property is going to be undergoing the same issues. So we first have to contact the city to see what the tree mitigation is, which most likely we're going to have to remove the trees. I believe we're going to have to get an arborist in place to assign, or determine what the course of action
Special
is,
Magistrate?
replacing the tree.
I'm sorry, before we give any more time for the bricks, he would need to do something to safe up that area. The bricks are uplifting, so it presents a trip hazard. So before we give any additional time, he needs to figure out a way to either flatten that area or move those bricks or put something around it to make that space safe before we give anything additional past the 10 days. Correct. That tree process can, be very lengthy. Like he says, it's, root structures and all that, but he needs to make it safe.
Okay, so right now, as it is, as you can see from the pictures, if we go ahead and take the pavers out of the way, the roots are above the surface. So the roots are a trip hazard as well. So it's not just the pavers. We can remove the pavers,
you would have to figure out a way to make that space. I'm sorry, you have to figure out a way to make that space safe. So I'm not saying remove the bricks. I'm saying cordon it off with something, but it has to be safe so people can walk past and not trip.
So basically yellow tape it so that no one can walk in that area would be sufficient?
Yellow tape, safety cones, stuff like that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's reasonable.
All right, so I'm going to stick with the city's recommendation, and then.
So I'm sorry. So that was 8 days for that.
It was 10 days.
10 days. 10 days for the 9-280.
Right. So they basically figure out a way to mark.
Okay. So designate it as a hazard, so don't walk around it, so that the pedestrians
Until
know.
you have a permanent solution.
Okay, sure. And then,
And the other two, you have 35 days.
right, which is 9-306.
Yeah, and
And
47-19-4D8.
Okay.
Okay, but stay in touch with the inspector so that he knows that you're compliant, you're working towards compliance.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal, yeah.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
We're recalling the case on page 20. Case number, Inspector Wanda Acavella, case number CE 25011-072, case address 2237 North Ocean Boulevard, 1-3, owner 2237 North Ocean Boulevard, LLC, posted at property 3/2025, posted at 1 East Broward, 3/25/25.
Good morning, Magistrate. We're at afternoon yet? Oh, no, it's the morning. Good morning, Magistrate. Katrina Johnson, Code Compliance Manager for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Which case did you call first? So the case that has the repeat violation, the city is going to request 35 days, no fines being imposed, but after the 35 days, a fine of $250 per day if the property is not brought into compliance.
250?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so, and you said 35 days. All right, so I'm going to grant that'll be May 13th with the compliance
Thank
date.
you, ma'am.
This is not the repeat, though.
It is, no, she just said she read in the repeat.
That is the repeat.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought
they're
we
not,
were
they're not,
recalling the
yeah.
first case.
No,
No,
they
we started
recall
with
the
the
second
repeat.
case, and then they don't want the fines to be imposed. We never heard the first case, but I heard that one. So they don't want the fines to be imposed, they just want a compliance date with a daily fine, $250.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. Very
Next
reasonable, yes, thank you.
Case on page 20, Inspector Wanda Acavella, case number CE 25011-069, case address 2301 North Ocean Boulevard, 1-3, owner 2301 North Ocean Boulevard, LLC, posted at property 3/2025, posted at 1 East Broward, 3/25/25.
This city is requesting 35 days or $250 per day.
Thank you. And for that property, we actually have an inspection scheduled
For
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, and
We're actually
Inspector
gonna
Wanda
try-
Acavella has been very helpful with that.
We're
so
actually
thank
going to try and see if we can get the other one scheduled for tomorrow as well.
you.
So we
Excellent,
can get this out of the
excellent,
way.
thank you.
Just state your name for the record again. I just have to have it for each violation.
Gareth Moore, property owner, 2237 North Ocean Boulevard, 2301 North Ocean Boulevard,
Okay.
and 2317 North Ocean
We
Boulevard.
haven't called 2317 yet, so
Okay.
you gotta wait. Okay.
Page 20, Inspector Wanda Acavella, case number CE 250200181, case address 2317 North Ocean Boulevard, owner A1A North Ocean Boulevard, LLC, posted at property 3/2025, posted at 1 East Broward, 3/25/25.
35 days or $250 per day.
Okay, so ordered.
Thank you. No, that's reasonable. We came here to figure out how to resolve this expeditiously, and now we have a view to doing that, so thank you.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our next page 16, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 2411047, case address 2548 Whale Harbor Lane, owner Melissa Grosvenor, posted at property 3/24/25, posted at 1 East Broward, 3/25/25.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 2411. Complied. There's outdoor storage on this RS-6.85A zoned property. There's a table and boxes on the front of the property, and there are coolers and propane tanks in the rear of the property. This is a recurring violation. Refer to case number CE21B. The landscape at this property is not being maintained in a neat and well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing ground cover in the front and the rear of the property. 9-308B, complied. 9-306, complied. 18-1, complied. 18-4C, complied. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and a waterway inspection was conducted on April 3, 2025 for the violations in the rear, and the following violations remained: 18-12A and 9-305B. The city is seeking a finding of fact for violation 47-39.A.1.B6B, a compliance deadline of 15 days for 1812A, and a compliance deadline of 35 days for 9-305B, or a fine of $50 per day per violation to run thereafter.
Good morning, please state your name.
Wyatt Grosvenor.
Okay, White. So the city's seeking compliance 15 days for for violation 1812A, where there's an overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on the property, or swale, and there's dead palm fronds in the rear of the property, or $50 a day, and they want the landscape of the property is not being maintained. They want that compliance within 35 days.
We have tried our hardest to comply with a lot of different things. A lot of those photos are old. We have removed the vehicles from the lawn and no longer park them on the lawn.
Well, you comply with most of the violations. There's only two violations that remain outstanding. They're seeking compliance.
And what are those specifically?
18-12A, there's overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on the property and/or its swale. There are dead palm fronds in the rear of the property. And the other violation is the landscape of the property is not being maintained and needing well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing ground cover in the front and the rear of the property.
In the rear of the property, my backyard, it is very difficult to maintain the grass because we have 2 dogs and they dig holes. So we try and throw seed down, but then they'll dig again and there'll be an area without ground cover. I also, it was stated that the dead palm fronds were an issue, but in permaculture and establishing soils, it is important to use dead leaves and stuff, put them on the ground to allow them to decay, and it's a common practice in permaculture. Are we not allowed to leave those there?
Magistrate. Hi, how are you doing? Supervisor Brown.
Hello?
Hi, I understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, having a compost pile in your property in that manner, viewable from the public right-of-way, does not comply with the landscaping standards set forth by the city. I understand what you're saying. And then also for the dogs, there are different types of landscaping things that you could do to come into compliance. And we would be more than happy to, get you in contact with our landscaping department, and they can share some good recommendations.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you 30. I'm gonna actually change it to each of the violations. You have 35 days for compliance for both of them to give you an opportunity to deal with the landscaping department. So you have until May 13th for each of the violations to get in compliance, or there'll be a daily fine of $50. And I'm gonna grant the city's request for a finding in fact for violation 47-39A1B 6B.
I have questions. So one of the first problems was our car parked on our lawn and a trailer as well on our lawn. And we have taken care of that. But along our street, I walked down the street yesterday. On my same street, there are 3 different trailers parked on lawns. And we've also been told that we can't have storage on our porch, on our roofed covered porch. We've been told we can't keep things there. But then I walk onto my street and there are multiple instances, over 3, where my neighbors are using their roofed porch for storage. And there are also instances on my street where there's no ground cover, which I don't have a problem with, but we're getting cited for that.
So what's your question?
I'm just voicing that my family feels like we are being
singled out.
Okay. Because in my neighborhood, now talking not specifically on my street, there are hoarders. And I have photos, and their lawns are full, about this high, stacked with furniture all across the lawn and coming out into the street. And there are multiple houses like that in my neighborhood.
Well, I'm sure the city can come out and re-inspect and look at the other properties, right, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
What?
Sir, sir,
did-
I understand what you're saying. So just because the other properties have violations doesn't mean that there isn't already an open code case. Sometimes people have properties held in such a manner and it's running fines and they refuse to comply. We do engage in enforcement proactively and reactively. So we may be at a property because of a complaint or we may be there proactively, but I can guarantee you that the violations cited at your property are common code violations that we frequently cite. So you are not being singled out.
Okay. And there's also a separate issue that I'm having with the city in regards to our driveway. My mother bought our house about 4 years ago, and the people that sold us the house, they redid the driveway without getting a permit for it. And now, after 4 years of owning the house, someone had called the city and complained about our driveway. And
Okay,
now,
that's not in front of me now. So when you purchase a property, you inherit whatever problems come with the property.
I'm aware, and we're having to hire
Okay.
an engineer and jump through a bunch of hoops, and it's not ideal.
Okay, but that's not before me now, so there's nothing I can really, I don't know what you're.
I'm just stating that there are people calling the city and complaining about our house and our property. It is costing us time and money and effort, and we want to comply, and I just want to state that we're trying, and we're going to do our best.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Our next case, page 15, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 250300263, case address 3121 Southwest 20th Court, owner Kyle Barnett, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 250300263 at address 3121 Southwest 20th Court. The case the roof. 6-13A, there's keeping of wild animals, chickens, occurring at this location. 18-1, there is a beehive in the backyard of this property that is creating a public nuisance. It is being maintained in such a manner that the property is or may reasonably threaten or endanger the public health, safety, or welfare, or may adversely affect and impair the economic welfare of adjacent properties. 18-12A, there is overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on this property and/or its swale. There is tree debris, palm fronds, and coconuts scattered throughout the property and the swale. 47-39.A.1.B is complied. 9-305B is complied. The landscape at this property is not being maintained in a neat and well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing 30064. Fines shall begin to accrue immediately. Fines shall run daily until compliance is met. This case will be scheduled for the special magistrate whether or not compliance is met to impose the fines. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and the following violations remained: 9-308B, 6-13A, 18-1, and 18-12A. The city is seeking a fine of $700 for violation 9-305B due to the repeat violation. The city is seeking a compliance deadline of 15 days for violation 18-12A, or a fine of $50 per day, a compliance deadline of 35 days for violations 9-308B and 18-1, or a fine of $50 per day per violation, and a compliance deadline of 35 days for violation 6-13, or a fine of $100 per day to run thereafter.
Okay. Good morning. Please state your name.
Is it still morning? I'm Kyle Barnett.
Barely, yes.
So, Mr. Barnett, you see all the violations. The city is seeking compliance. You have different compliance dates and different fines. Do you need clarification, or you understand what the city is seeking?
There's one that I thought I complied with, apparently not though, and that is the vegetation, not the coconuts so much, but the grass that I got and planted. It seems to take a little while for it to take hold.
Yeah, that one they're seeking $700. That you're in compliance, but because
It's up to the inspector, but I thought we were good with that.
So it like I said before, it is in compliance, but because it's a repeat violation, there was an immediate daily fine that was running that I spoke with you about the first day that I cited, and then after you came into compliance.
So what was the daily fine?
$100 per day.
So there were 7 days he was not in compliance?
That's correct.
Okay, and then the city's seeking compliance with 3 of the violations within 35 days. One of them is pretty substantial, $100 a day, which is a keeping of wild animals, chickens, occurring at this location. And then the other was there's a debris, trash, or another element which is not permanent on the roof. They want compliance within 35 days or $50 a day. There's a beehive in the backyard. They want this to be removed or maintained in such a manner that it may or may reasonably threaten or endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. So that one they want compliance within 35 days or $50 a day. And the last compliance date would be overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on the property or its swale. There's a tree, debris, palm fronds, and coconuts scattered throughout the property and the swale. They want compliance within 15 days, which would be April 23rd. So this is your opportunity to respond to all of their requests.
Okay, it seems like the debris is in 2 parts or one. I raked off the roof. If you look at look at the roof, I raked it off. There's still soil up there. I did that this morning, but you probably won't see that picture. Yeah, that's been raked off. I have a picture here. Now, the landscaping stuff I can take care of. That's not a problem. I would like the waiver to be, like get lenience on the waiver. The other aspects of it are the chickens. Have you seen the price of chickens today? So, and then the bees.
Are they your chickens?
Yeah, they're awesome, yeah.
But you're not allowed to have wild animals, I don't think.
No,
right? No.
but I could pay the fines with the eggs. I'm kidding. And then the beehive, have you seen the price of honey? I'm kidding. The bees can go.
The bees have to go.
The bees have to go.
You gotta get the chickens to go too, though.
Yeah, they'll go. And the thing about, I don't know how much, I'm not really good with numbers in P-dot things like that, but however, I would like to find a place with humane treatment for my ducks and chickens and ducks, right? And I'm thinking 35 days I can have it all taken care of. And the $700 is going to be a rough one. If we could somehow waive that through my good behavior, that would be good.
Magistrate, Supervisor Brown, the city is not opposed to waiving the fines. We'll leave it up to your determination.
Okay, I will waive the fines based on your very nice demeanor. You are kind of funny, but honestly, we just want compliance. That's all we're seeking is compliance, okay? So we're glad you came in compliance with that violation, and I'm going to give you the 35 days for the other 3 violations, and you have 15 days, again, for the overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on the property or its well. It seems like it's manageable for you to get that one.
That sounds fine.
Okay? All right. Good luck to you, sir.
And sir, if you Google, there's, because I live in Western Davie, there's definitely like a decent amount of farms and like Southwest ranches and that kind of area that they do have animals. Some are somewhat close to me, so I don't know their names, but if you Google them, I'm sure you can find a home for the chickens and the ducks.
Cool, thank you. I have gone on the state of, well, these guys are ready to come up, but I've got a few contacts, and
okay.
But thanks for y'all's time.
Sure.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next case, page 14, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 241200077, case address 2364 Southwest 34th Way, owner Samuel Reed and Anissa Reed, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Morning.
To the front porch is stained. 9-305B, the landscape at this property is not being maintained in a neat and well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing ground cover. 9-304B, the driveway is in disrepair. There are some cracks and holes in it. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and the following violations remained. 9-280C, 9-305B, and 9-304B. The city is seeking a compliance deadline of 35 days for 9-280C and a compliance deadline of 63 days for 9-305B and 9-304B, or a fine of $50 per day per violation to run thereafter.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Sam Reed. For the driveway, this off to the left there, I'm having that paved so I can come all the way out to the sidewalk with that. I just heard you all tell somebody else that.
Okay, so the city wants compliant. How long is it going to take you to get in compliance?
I'm gonna need about 90 days.
Okay, so 91 days. So I'll make that 91 days, which would be July 8th, 25. And then the landscape of the property is not being maintained. Is that going to affect the landscaping as well? Or are you
Well,
doing
the landscaping should be fine. No, it's all taken care of now.
Okay, so you need to have the inspector come out because when you went out on April 1st, you were not in compliance. So.
It should have been, the landscaping should have been in compliance. It's just the issue of the driveway and the.
Okay, and the walkway leading to the front porch is stained. Is that going to be done when the driveway is done?
I got to figure out what to do with that because prior to his first inspection, I had just had that pressure wash and it wouldn't come clean.
Okay, I'm going to give you 91 days for that one as well. So that way when you deal with the driveway, you can deal with the walkway as well. Okay?
So just to clarify, so the dead and missing ground cover is talking about to the left of the driveway. So like I understand that that'll be in compliance once you have the driveway done there.
Yes. I'm gonna do all that at once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right?
Okay.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next case, page 17, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 250-20210, case address 1955 Southwest 29th Ave, Common Area. Owner Javor Shabazian and Karine Krivich, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Hello, how are you? I'm Gevor Shabazian, the property owner.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 25020210 at address 1955 Southwest 29th Avenue. The case was first cited on February 7, 2025 for the following violations. 47-39.A.1.B 6B. There is illegal outdoor storage occurring at this property. Reads 19-5, and the numbers are the same color as the background wall. 9-306, there are areas of the fascia that have black stains and missing peeling paint on the north side of the property. 9-280H1, the chain link fence is in disrepair. The top bar and sections of the screen mesh have become detached from the fence or have been removed. Sections of the chain link fence are bent. This is a recurring violation from case CE 23-060647 and will be presented to the special magistrate whether or not compliance is met prior to the hearing. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and the following violations remained. 47-39.A.1.B 6B, 9-308B, 9-313A, 9-306, and 9-280H1. The city is seeking a finding of fact for violation 18-12A, a compliance deadline of 15 days for 47-39 9.A.1.B, 6B, and 9313A, and a compliance deadline of 35 days for violations 9-308B, 9-306, and 9-280H1, or a fine of $50 per day per violation to run thereafter.
Yeah, so as mentioned, my name is Gevor Shabazan and I'm the property owner. Last week we had a phone conversation with Matthew, and I was explaining him that I purchased the property 2 years ago. In the last 2 years, I had 4 floods, about 4 to 5 feet inside the house, so the whole house was destroyed. Then we filed a claim with the insurance company. They paid us after about 4 or 5 months, and we did the whole renovation of the house, and then it flooded again the second time. And then last year it flooded again twice. So the property is below like required level, which I had no idea when I was purchasing the property. But even today, when it rains, it's going to flood. In the back, it's a 1 acre lot, so it just becomes a lake. So one of the items that is necessary to do is just demolish the whole place and raise the ground. And we actually have a development review committee site plan already submitted with the city of Fort Lauderdale, and we are planning to build here 11 townhouses after the demolition is done, but we have to raise the property, I believe, about 7 foot. And that's going to cost us anywhere about $200,000 to $300,000. And at the moment, I cannot live in that house because I have 2 kids that are younger than 2 years old. So I found a temporary place for rent, and we had to move temporarily for there. As far as the roof leaked twice, and the blue tarp that you see on the top is actually done by the insurance company and also by the adjuster. I cannot touch it because there is an ongoing litigation. But the good news is that this past Monday, we heard that there is a discussion that the insurance company wants to settle with us. So hopefully within, I don't know, maybe a week or 10 days, this agreement will be done. As far as the cleaning, I believe as of today, the grass is already cut. The fence, since we are going to put their townhouses, we had the designer for the fence to come in, and we have a new design that's going to be aluminum sign to the whole place. So obviously I cannot live in there, and it's just, you know, the only way that this property will be livable, it has to be demolished. And I explained to Matthew last week that one of my project managers is currently working with the city, and this morning she just texted me that she got the arborist letter, and we are waiting for asbestos report so we can submit the actual demolition permit, hopefully this week.
So obviously, I don't want him to do things that would be a waste of money since he's going to be tearing it down. So which violations are necessary that he needs to get in compliance, and the other ones I'm just going to give him a lot of time because there's no reason for him to spend the money to get in compliance?
Basically, the ones with the shortest, which would be the outdoor storage, like there's some tires that are on the property towards the front by the fence. There's the pile of bricks towards the back of the property, and then there were like some aluminum beams on the south side of the property, kind of leaning against. I don't know if those were trees or
framing.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go ahead and I guess get rid of that stuff, right?
No
That's
problem,
not a problem. So that's 15 days. The blue tarp, I'm going to give you, when do you think you're going to do demolition?
Usually with the city of Fort Lauderdale, it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days until the demolition permit is approved. So we plan to submit it at the end of this week. So that's one question. The second thing is that I have a mortgage on the property. So until that mortgage is paid, I cannot demo it, but I'm working with the construction loan lenders.
Right.
Hopefully in about 2 months we should have the approval so that we can actually do the demolition.
So why don't we do 91 days on the blue tarp and sandbag, because before there's nothing hopefully within 91 days you'll have some type of solution. But the property is not identified or approved address numbers. Is that something you need him to do right away?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to put property. You need to
I'll put the sign.
Okay, and then there are areas of the fascia that have black stains and missing. I don't want you to correct that, so let's do 91 days on that as well, because you'll have it demolished, so it won't really matter. the chain link fence is in disrepair. What do you want to do about the fence? Is it gonna be a different fence when he does demolition then, or?
Yes, I'm going to put aluminum fence and signs on the top.
Okay, let's just do 91 days on that as well, so that everything's in the same time. Okay, and also I'll just give a finding of fact regarding the recurring violation.
So, Your Honor, if I could just get some clarification. So, sir, out of the 19 properties that you own, you're saying that this is the
How
one
many?
that you've chosen to live in?
I'm sorry, what did you say? How
I
many
said out of the
properties?
19 properties
I
that
don't
you
have
own?
19 properties.
Rhonda,
This is my homestead, was my homestead property.
Rhonda,
Yes.
I believe that those are, I'm assuming, from what I also see in the seller, because I see that there is a request for the separation of the folios.
It's
So
the
I'm assuming that because
townhouses,
he's building
11
the townhouses, he's
11
securing the
townhouses.
addresses now.
Yeah, it's one property there, it's a single-family home, and the DRC, that site plan was already approved, it's for 11 townhouses. So we have to demolish this place in order to build that 11 townhouses.
Okay.
For the,
A
for
lot
the,
of different addresses in here.
yes, it's already subdivided into 11 townhouses. Because as part of the DRC, you have to give them the subdivided townhouse addresses and the street that has been already created in the middle of the property with Broward County.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead with my original finding then will be, which I said would be 91 days for 9-308B, 9-306, and 9-2880H1, and then 15 days for 47-9-39A1, B6B, and 9-313. And all of them will have a fine of $50 a day if you're not in compliance, and then a finding of fact as to 18-12A.
May I ask another question? For the tires and for the framing, I can move them within the 10-15 day period, whichever was given. For the blocks, since I have to find a new place for them, is it possible to give me a bit more time, maybe 30 days? Because it's 2 pallets of blocks from one of my other projects. I just need to find somewhere to.
Is that the
take
bricks
them.
you're talking about?
Yes, it's blocks. It's like 2 pallets of blocks. They are like this high. So
Yeah, you can see it in the back, towards the back of the property, to the north, on the north side of it. It's in one of the other
I just
photos.
need to find a place to move that.
Does the city have any objection to that?
No, no objection.
Okay, so I'll just change 47-39A1.
Why couldn't you move it inside the property? If it's not being inhabited, why couldn't you move them inside?
Inside the house?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to demolish it.
Right, but you said that it's gonna take a while, so to comply,
If
why
I can
wouldn't
put
you?
it maybe in the back, I can do that. But then at the time of the demolition, I still have to take it somewhere else.
But
So
that gives you,
I can-
that complies the violation, and then
Then
you
maybe I
move it
can
out
put
at
in
the
the
time
back.
of demo.
If you allow me to put in the back, then I'll just put it in the back because I have 1 acre lot, so I can just put it there.
Any objection to put it in the back?
Yeah.
That's okay?
All right, so then
Okay.
you'll be in compliance 15 days, you're just gonna put it in the back.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, good
Have a
luck
good
to you.
one.
Thank you.
No.
Our next case, page 33, Inspector Guy Seiderman, case number CE 240-30341, case address 535 Northwest 23rd Avenue, owner Florida Fast Home Buyer LLC, first heard 9/26/24 to comply by 10/24/24. Suspension noted 11425 through 4825, one section not complied at $50 per day. $4,150 has accrued, and this is an order to reappear.
Guy Siderman, City of Fort Lauderdale, Code Compliance Officer, presenting case CE 240-30341 for the property located at 535 Northwest 23rd Avenue. The case was first heard on 9/26/2024. The magistrate ruled in favor for the city and the property
We put the house for sale, and right now we're under contract with a buyer who's going to, who wants to position to give buyer the mortgage to buy the house and do the repairs. So what the buyer is requesting that he will prepay up front to the city the 10% of the total lien amount, and in return he's asking that the city either remove the lien or make the code lien a second position lien, so the hard money lender's mortgage can be first position and he could do the closing. And then in 90 days or less.
What is your name, sir?
Andrew Maximiv. I'm for Florida Fast Home Buyer.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. I just didn't.
And in 90 days, he'll replace the roof. And then I have a written contract with the buyer and proof from the title company that he's ready to do what he's saying.
I don't know the city's protocol for mitigation without being in compliance. He's speaking for mitigation without being in compliance.
Can I refer this to either Rhonda or Katrina for the? He's asking about to get some sort of
A mitigation.
Yes, go ahead.
He wants a mitigation to 10. He wants to pay 10% of it and and then of this outstanding lien or
Right,
fine.
So per the resolution, for lien amnesty, you have to be in full compliance.
So we can't give you a mitigation until you're in compliance. So only thing, either you pay the full amount or we grant additional time to comply. That's it. But we can't reduce it. You're not in compliance.
Well, he wants to be.
We can't change. We
We
can't change who's first in line. I mean that's the city's first in line. They're not going to change it to a second in line. That's just the way a lien is. They're not going to reduce the right. You want them to change. I mean, you can better if you want to address that, but I don't think the city's going to change their position as far as what number they are as far in a lien.
No, ma'am. We would not do that.
So if you guys wouldn't, I would lose this buyer, and then I'll have to restart the process again. And then the new buyer is going to have the same problem because all the hard money lenders require first lien position to loan their money on the house. So we're trying to figure out a way to resolve this because he's getting the hard money loan in order to fix the whole house. And he just needs the city lien to be in another position so the loan is in first.
Again, I have no control over that. The only thing I can do is either grant an extension.
I'm sorry, Magistrate. Katrina Johnson, Co-Compliance Manager for the City of Fort Lauderdale, for the record. The property has not been liened as of yet. There are fines, but there's no lien on the property from the city, not for this case.
Right. This case is involving another lien that's on the house. It's exactly for the same thing as for the roof, and this is just another lien for the roof also. So they're all the same.
Well, this case is not so much for the roof, but as to the building walls themselves. So what you're saying is that you have an additional case on this property that is already liened?
Right.
Oh, well, that case still can't be mitigated because of this case as well. So the only other option would be a tri-party settlement agreement, but that's not a short process because it has to be approved by the city commission. If you want to go that route, I can give you my contact information. We can discuss it later. But again, it's not an easy process. It's not a short process is my point. So if you're selling the property within the next 30 days, it probably wouldn't be done by then. Mm-hmm. But that's the only option to mitigate fines or liens on properties that are not in full compliance with the city's ordinances. That's the only way.
So either you have to get in compliance or ask for an extension of time. But there's really nothing else we can do to make your sale go through. It has nothing to do with the sale. The city has a protocol for things.
So can we get a 90-day extension for this?
City.
So, yeah, that's fine. Yes.
All right.
Mandatory reappearance, please.
Okay, so I'm going to grant the extension till July 8th. So stay the fines and mandatory reappearance. Okay, see you July 8th.
Okay, thanks.
Good luck to you.
This concludes our cases with respondents. We'll take a 5-minute break. First case, page 3, Inspector Edward Eason, case number... Page 3, Inspector Edward Eason, case number CE 2501-0408, case address 230 Southwest 11th Avenue, 1 through 5. Owner Palm Apartments LLC, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward, 32525.
Good afternoon, Edward Eason, City of Fort Lauderdale, Code Compliance, presenting case CE 2501-0408 for the property located at 230 Southwest 11th Avenue. Inspection of the property is conducted on 1/11/25, and the following violation was observed. 9-305B, the landscape at the property is not being maintained in a neat and well-kept appearance. There are areas of dead and missing ground cover on the swale along Southwest 11th Avenue. 24-29A is complied. Pre-hearing inspection was conducted on 4/7/25, and the property remained in violation. The city is requesting 35 days or $100 per day thereafter until compliance is met.
So ordered.
Page 4, case Inspector Guy Seidemann, case number CE 24060-316, case address 510 Northwest 22nd Ave, 1 through 4. Owner William J. and Electa C. Cohn, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward, 32525.
Guy Satterman, City of Fort Lauderdale, Code Compliance Officer, presenting case CE 24060-316 for the property located at 510 Northwest 22nd Avenue. The property was inspected on 6/15/2024 and given time to comply for the following violations. 9280H1 withdrawn. 9308B, there is debris and ground cover. This is throughout the property, including the rear of the property and the front swell area. This is a repeat violation of case CE 21110166. Fines will begin to accrue immediately. It will be scheduled for a special magistrate hearing, whether it is brought into compliance or not. 9-308A. The roof is not in good repair and is not weather or weather tight. There are signs of water damage inside the finding of fact whether or not it is complied prior to the hearing. There were violations at this property that are still not in compliance. For violation 9-308B, 9-308A, and 9-280B, the city is seeking full compliance within 63 days or a fine of $100 per day thereafter. For violation 9-305B, which is a repeat violation, the city is seeking immediate fines of $200 per day for each day that the property has been inspected and violation was observed. These dates are June 15th and 27th, July 1st, August 5th, November 18th, December 11th, January 13th, February 6th, March 6th, and the 20th, and April 6th for a total of $2,200. Additionally, the city is requesting a finding of fact for violation 9-280B is a recurring violation, and any subsequent violation of this code will be cited as a repeat violation.
Is 9-280B still not in compliance? Because you're seeking a finding of fact, but I thought they were not in compliance.
They're still not in compliance.
Okay, so then I would do a compliance date, not a finding of fact. Okay, so you want 63 days for 9-308B. You want immediate compliance for 9-305B or $200 a day for each day of noncompliance, and you gave 11 days of noncompliance. You want 63 days for 9-308A and 9-280B, correct?
Correct.
And how much of a daily fine are you seeking?
$100 per day.
Okay, so ordered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Page 5, Inspector Gail Williams, case number CE 25010172, case address 1045 Northwest 3rd Ave, owner A.R. Carrotwood LLC, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Senior Officer Gail Williams for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 250-10172, address 1045 Northwest 3rd Avenue. This case was first cited on January 5th, 2025 for the following violations. 9-280, parentheses H, parentheses 1. The fence at this property is in disrepair and is not being maintained as required. There is a chain link fence with holes and not connected to poles. 24-7, parentheses B, comply. A pre-hearing inspection conducted on April 3rd, 2025, and violation 9-280H, parentheses 1, remains as depicted in the photos. The city is requesting 35 days or a daily fine of $150 per day thereafter.
Okay, so ordered.
Page 5, Inspector Gail Williams, case number CE 2501024, case address 1045 Northwest 5th Avenue, owner Yvonneline Dardenson, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Senior Officer Gail Williams for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 25010254, address 1045 Northwest 5 Avenue. This case was first cited on January 7th, 2025 for the following violations. 24-27, parentheses B, comply. 9-304, parentheses B, comply. 9-306, the exterior building walls have not been maintained. Structural parts including fascia, soffits are in disrepair. There are areas of exterior that have stains and missing peeling paint. 47-34, parentheses 1, point 1, point A, point 1. There is an illegal land use occurring at this RD15 zone property. Storage of miscellaneous items, including but not limited to carpet, doors, and a couch. In the photos. The city is requesting 35 days or a daily fine of $100 per violation per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 7, Inspector Sheikh, we're recalling case number, Inspector Shaquan Kendrick, we're recalling case number CE 241200178, case address 5910 Northeast 18th Ave, owner Imperial Point Holdings LLC, posted at property 32625, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Why are we recalling it?
I want to make a amend to one of the violations. Violation 9-288C, I would like to give a 10-day in order to reappear on 4/24/25 due to we wanted him to make it safe. So we want to give him a reappearance in 10 days.
Okay, but he's not here anymore, so I have a problem with that unless you spoke to him because he's already here and we didn't tell him that. So to tell someone they have to come in 10 days, did you tell him that?
No, we didn't tell him that, but we have to communicate with him. I spoke with my supervisor. The thing is, after the 10 days, it's not going to be in compliance. So with it being not in compliance, we can't comply with a violation. It will start accrue fines, and we don't want him to accrue fines if we gave him 10 days to make it safe. And we don't want to close out the case either.
Special Magistrate, we're going to communicate with him. It's actually going to be more than 10 days. It'll be 14 days for the 24th. So we'll communicate with him that he needs to reappear so he can get more time. I don't think he'd have a problem with fines not accruing in 10 days.
Okay, but is there a hearing date on April 18th? When's the hearing?
No, it's going to be the 24th. It's actually 14 days.
Okay, I just hope that he's available and that he's in town. I don't want to impose that on somebody, especially they were just here. And we talked about it, and I guess the information, at least I was led to believe if he at least put cones or he at least roped it off, it would have been safe enough. It would have been a safe condition. I understand it's not complete compliance, but it seemed as if you guys were satisfied by roping it off or whatever he was going to do, we talked about it. And
Right, we would be satisfied with that. It still doesn't comply with the violation, and he wasn't given any notice to reappear. So
Yeah, that's
that
the
sort
issue I'm
of,
having with that.
it sort of ends up in a no man's land of when that violation needs to be in compliance.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that. So, you know what, I'm going to change the compliance date to 35 days, because that's not a due process issue, it gives him more time. So instead of the 10 days, I'm going to make it 35 days, and I'm going to do an order to reappear for May 13th. I don't want to impose on anybody to have to come that quick if we're not even giving them an opportunity, you know, that he was already here.
Next case, page 7, Inspector Shaquan Kendrick, case number CE 24120158, case address 5210 Northeast 14th Way, owner Sherry Ann Otis, posted at property 32625, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Inspector Shaquan Kendrick with the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case and address as read in. This case was first heard on December 23rd, 2024, and given enough time to correct the following violations. Violations 9-304B, the driveway at this property is in disrepair and is unsafe. Violation 9-304B has complied with a different violation with the trailer being parked on the lawn. Violation 18-1, there's outdoor storage under the carport at the property, which is creating a public nuisance. It may be maintained in such a manner that the property may reasonably become infested or inhabited by rodents, vermin, and wild animals, or it may furnish a breeding place for mosquitoes, or threaten or endanger the public health, safety, and welfare, or may adversely affect and impair the economic welfare of the adjacent properties. Violation 47-19.2.II.4.A. There's two portable storage named My Stack Box on this RMM25 zone property beyond the 14 days that's allowed. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 7, 2025, and found violation 9-304B, violation 18-1, and violation 47-19.2.1.4.A remain as depicted in the photos. The city is requesting 35 days for violation 9-304B, 15 days for violation 18-1, and 15 days for violation 47-19.2.II.4.A, or a daily fine of $50 for each violation thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 8, Inspector Shaquan Kendrick, case number CE 2501097, case address 5581 Northeast 33rd Ave, owner Donna and Edward Palvich, posted at property 31925, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Inspector Shaquan Kendrick with the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case and address as read in. This property was first cited on January 26, 2025, and given time to correct the following violations. Violations 8-144, parentheses 9. There are two derelict vessels mowned and tied together at the property. There is a white Warlock vessel, Raffin, the vessel named Wave Dancer, that's moored at the dock. Violation 9-305B, the landscaping at this property is not being maintained in a well-kept appearance. There are hedges that needs to be maintained and trimmed. There are weeds growing over the mulch and plants that's not being maintained on the property. Violation 18-12A, there's overgrowth, trash, represent debris on the property or in the swell area. There are also dead palm fronds on the property. Violation 9-304B, the driveway at this property has weed growing on the surface, is dirty, and is not being maintained in a well-kept appearance. Violation 9-306, the exterior building wall has not been maintained. Structural parts, including the fascias, the soffits, are in disrepair. There is area of the exterior wall that is missing and peeling paint. The walls are stained and dirty also. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 7, 2025, and the property remained in violation as depicted in the photos. The city is requesting 10 days for violation 8-144, parentheses 9, 35 days for violation 9-305B, 10 days for violation 18-12A, 35 days for violation 9-304B, and 63 days for violation 9-306. or a daily fine of $50 per day for each violation thereafter.
So ordered.
Next case, page 10, Inspector Muhammad Dayem, case number CE 2501-0648, case address 1000 Southwest 26th Street, owner Ecor LLC, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good afternoon. This is Mohammed Dam, City of Fort Lauderdale Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on January 16th, 2025, and the following violations were observed. 9-280H1, part of the buffer wall located at this west side of this property is in disrepair and is not being maintained as required. The buffer wall is leaning forward. 18-12A, there is overgrowth, trash, rubbish, and debris on this property and its swale. A pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 5th, 2025. The property remains in violation. The city is requesting 35 days to comply for violation 9-280H1 and 15 days for violation 18-12A, or a fine of $150 per day per violation thereafter.
I'm sorry, how many, for 90-280H1, how much?
35 days, and for 18-12A, 15 days.
And both of them $100, right?
$150 per day.
Oh, 150 per violation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so ordered.
Thank you.
Next case, page 12, Inspector Pat Gavin, case number CE 2501-0818, case address 1362 Bayview Drive, owner Ferdinand Cabrera, personal service on 32525, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Good afternoon, Pat Gavin, City of Fort Lauderdale Senior Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on January 27th and given time to correct for the following violations. 9-363, failure to register the rental dwellings within the city. The free application has not been submitted or is incomplete. 25-7A has been withdrawn. The city is requesting compliance within 10 days or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 12, Inspector Pat Gavin, case number CE 250-20382, case address 3600 Northeast 22nd Ave, owner Highland Antonio Revocable Trust and Antonio Highland Trustee, posted at property 32525, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Pat Gavin, City of Fort Lauderdale Senior Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was cited under case CE 241-00377 on October 21st, 2024, and given time to comply for the following violation. 47-34.4.c.1, there is an RV mobile home parked and or being stored at this RD15 residential property, which is open for use and connected to the utilities. This use is not permitted within the city limits at a residential property. On October 31st, the violation was complied and the case was closed. On February 12th, 2025, the property was again cited for the same violation and complied on April 2nd, 2025. The violation of this property is now in compliance. However, the city is requesting a finding of fact that this is a recurring violation and any subsequent violation of this code will be cited as a repeat violation.
Any automatic fines or just a finding of fact? Okay.
It's finding of fact.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Next case, page 13, Inspector Pat Gavin, case number CE 250-20717, case address 3071 Northeast 43rd Street, owner Jose Mayorkin, posted at property 32525, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Pat Gavin, City of Fort Lauderdale Senior Code Compliance Officer, presenting case and address as read. This property was first inspected on February 26th and given time to correct for the following violations. 9-280G, there were 2 light fixtures on the front of the garage that have been removed, leaving the wires exposed. 9-363, the owner of this residential rental dwelling within the city has not registered as a landlord. The free application has not been submitted or is incomplete. Violation 18-12A has been complied. The city is requesting compliance within 10 days or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
For each violation?
For each violation, yes.
Okay, so ordered.
Thank you.
Next case, page 18, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 25020359, case address 2406 Tortuga Lane, owner 2018-3 IH Borrower LP, and Invitation Homes, Tax Department, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 25020359 at address 2406 Tortugas Lane. The case was first cited on February 11, 2025 for the following violations: 9-304B complied, 47-21.16.a complied, 18-4C complied, 18-12A complied, 9-305A complied. There is growth of landscape material encroaching upon the public right-of-way that is blocking a stop sign. This is a recurring violation. Refer to case number CE 23050139. This case will be presented to the special magistrate seeking a finding of fact whether or not the violation comes into compliance prior to the hearing date. All violations were complied as of March 2, 2025. The city is seeking a finding of fact for violation 9-305A.
So ordered.
Page 18, Inspector Matthew Flesher, case number CE 241000717, case address 2413 Sugarloaf Lane, owner Orlando Jr. and Jennifer Casariego, posted at property 32425, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
This is Matthew Flesher for the City of Fort Lauderdale, presenting case CE 241000717 at address 2413 Sugarloaf Lane. The case was first cited on October 30, 2024 for the following violation: 47-39.A.1.B.9D. There is a boat over 12 feet in length being stored on this RS-6.85A zoned property without being on a currently licensed trailer. 47-34.1.A.1 was withdrawn. Pre-hearing inspection was conducted on April 1, 2025, and the violation 47-39.A.1.B.9D remained. The city is seeking a compliance deadline of 63 days or a fine of $50 per day to run thereafter.
So ordered.
Next case, page 19, Inspector Leonard Champagne, case number CE 2502080, case address 1601 Northeast 63rd Street, owner Jeffrey Catrati and Juliana Carvalho, posted at property 31925, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Leonard Champagne for the City of Fort Lauderdale for case CE 25020080, 1601 Northeast 63rd Street. This property was cited on 2/5/2025 for 15281A. This vacation rental property is operating with an expired certificate. I checked it as of today. The listing is still there. Okay, the city is requesting 15 days to comply or a fine of $250 per day thereafter being imposed.
So ordered.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Page 19, Inspector Wanda Aquavello, case number CE 250100967, case address 1128 Northeast 17 Terrace 1 through 3, owner Treasure Trove Investment LLC, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
No, I'm sorry, just to check, that was 1128 Northeast 17 Terrace?
Yeah.
Okay. Wanda Aquavella for the city. Case and address is read. This property was initially inspected on January 29, 2025, and the following violation was observed. 15281A, there is an operation of vacation rental with an expired certificate of compliance at this location. Additional inspections were conducted, including a pre-hearing inspection on April 1st, 2025, and the violation remains. The city is requesting 35 days to come into compliance or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 19, Inspector Wanda Aquavella, case number CE 250100976, case address 1616 Northeast 11th Street, owner Bradley Cady, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Wanda Aquavella for the city, case and address is read. This property was initially inspected on January 29, 2025, and the following violation was observed. 15281A, there is an operation of vacation rental with an expired certificate of compliance at this location. Additional inspections were conducted, including a pre-hearing inspection on April 1st, 2025, and the violation remains. The city is requesting 15 days to come into compliance or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered. Can I ask you why the other one was 35 days and this was 15 days?
Yes, because they are trying to get it in, they are trying to get it into compliance on that one.
Oh, okay, so they're doing, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Page 19, Inspector Wanda Aquavella, case number CE 25010992, case address 1352 Holly Heights Drive, owner Bradley C. Cady. Posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Wanda Aquavella for the city, case and address is read. This property was initially inspected on January 29, 2025, and the following violation was observed. 15281A, there is an operation of vacation rental with an expired certificate of compliance at this location. Additional inspections were conducted, including a pre-hearing inspection on April 1st, 2025, and the violation remains. The city is requesting 15 days to comply or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 20, Inspector Wanda Aquavella, case number CE 25020179, case address 1245 Northeast 17th Way, owner MBiz Group 1245 LLC, and Matthew Morrison, posted at property 32025, posted at 1 East Broward 32525.
Wanda Aquavella for the city, case and address is read. This property was initially inspected on February 10, 2025, and the following violation was observed. 15281A, there is an operation of vacation rental with an expired certificate of compliance at this location. Additional inspections were conducted, including a pre-hearing inspection on April 2nd, 2025, and the violation remains. The city is requesting 35 days to comply or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Page 21, Inspector
Twentieth, 2025, and the following violation was observed. 15281A, there is an operation of vacation rental with an expired certificate of compliance at this location. Additional inspections were conducted, including a pre-hearing inspection on April 2nd, 2025, and the violation remains. The city is requesting 15 days to comply or a fine of $250 per day thereafter.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 22, city's requesting cost of $1,169. Also to vacate, order imposing fine of $211.25 and vacate violation 47-19-4.d.1.
Okay, so ordered.
Page 23, case number CE 240-90591, case address Northwest 6th Avenue, owner Miller Property Investment LLC, Balisma Real Estate LLC, Inspector Martinez. First heard 11425 to comply by 31125. One section not complied to $100 per day. 2,800 has accrued. The city is requesting the full amount and the fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 23, case number CE 2411058, case address 509 Northeast 4th Street, owner Main Street NCC Flagler LLC. First heard 11425 to comply by 31125. One section not complied at $50 per day. 1,400 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amounts and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 24, case number CE 240-90611, case address 2240 Southwest 33rd Terrace, owner Paola Veronique DeGrave. First heard 11425 to comply by 12925 and 21125. Three sections not complied at $50 per day. 9,050 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amount and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 24, case number CE 241100301, case address 2537 Marathon Lane, owner CSWS Reinvestments LLC. First heard 11425 to comply by 12925 and 21125. One section not complied at $100 per day. 5,600 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amount and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 25, case number CE 24080-233, case address 561 Southwest 30th Avenue. Owner Benjamin J. Williams III. First heard 11425 to comply by 12425 and 31125. 3 sections not complied at $25 per day. 2,100 has accrued. The city is requesting the full amount, and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 26, case number CE 240-90090, case address 2764 Northeast 35th Street, owner Ridge Build Project LLC. First heard 11425 to comply by 12425. 1 section not complied at $250 a day. 18,500 has accrued. City is requesting the full amount, and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 27, case number CE 241000665, case address 2572 Northeast 26th Street, owner JPV Home Solutions LLC. First heard 11425 to comply by 12425. 1 section not complied at $250 per day, $250 a day. 18,500 is accrued. 1 section complied at $250. Fines have accrued in a total of $15,750. 34,250 has accrued. City requests full amounts, and the fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 27, case number CE 240-70680. Case address 2236 Northwest 24th Court. Owner Rock Islands Oaks Homeowners Association, Inc. First heard 11425 to comply by 12925. 2 sections not complied at $50 per day. 6,900 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amount, and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
Page 27, case number CE 240-80023, case address 3099 Northwest 20th Street, owner Indris and Elmani Duclos. First heard 11425 to comply by 21125. 1 section not complied at $50 per day. 2,800 has accrued, and the city is requesting the full amount, and fines continue to accrue.
So ordered.
The city is requesting page 36, to enter page 36 into today's hearing as an exhibit. It is a city's list of complied, closed, withdrawn, and rescheduled cases. This concludes the special magistrate hearing agenda for April 8th, 2025.
So ordered.